Chapter 669. Emperor. He couldn't help following behind Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan suddenly turned around and looked at him with sparkling eyes. His eyes were ice cold and Chu Xiaobai's heart skipped a beat seeing this. Emperor, she. Don't mention her to this one, don't mention a single word. Mo Chuan suddenly cut him off. His voice was hoarse and it was not as clear as usual. He forcefully pressed down on his chest, but he couldn't stop the heart-tearing pain. Suddenly, he felt a sweetness in his throat. He lowered his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. That glaring scarlet landed on the ground, appearing particularly dazzling. Emperor. Chu Xiaobai was shocked as he cried out in a soft voice. Mo Chuan spat out this mouthful of blood, but his heart felt much better. He calmly wiped the blood off the ground with his foot. This one is fine. Is the result of the competition out? Chu Xiaobai swallowed back the words he wanted to ask and silently nodded. Come, let's see everyone's results. Mo Chuan's face was snow-white and his eyes were dark, like a bottomless lake. Even Chu Xiaobai could not guess what he was thinking. Chu Xiaobai only knew that he was injured and extremely sad, but on the surface, he couldn't see anything. Because he had covered up all his wounds, because he was the emperor. The two of them returned to the stone tablet and saw the East Qin envoy proudly pointing at Na Mu Qiu's tablet, speaking to Yiting Xian. His meaning was that Prince Na Mu's words were not bad and it was short, so it should be Prince Na Mu's victory. The West Chu ministers were like gourds with their mouths shut, not making a single sound. This was because they had looked very carefully. Although Chen Ning's writing was not bad, looking at the time, it could be said that she had lost. Yiting Xian faced the East Qin envoy's aggressive questioning, but he was very calm, not panicking at all. He used the East Qin language to speak in a clear voice. Everyone carefully look at Prince Na Mu's tablet again. Is it really not bad at all? He repeated this sentence in the West Chu language. The several dozen East Qin envoys all nodded. Although the West Chu people were not willing to admit it, they still had to nod. Na Mu Qiu's arms were crossed as he arrogantly stood in front of the East Qin people. Although he did not say a word, his eyes were filled with a dark glow as he stared at Yiting Xian. It was like he wanted to swallow him alive. Although Yiting Xian did not know martial arts and was a weak scholar without the strength to truss a chicken, as well as having a handsome and elegant appearance, when he faced the East Qin people's momentum and Na Mu Qiu's killing intent, he remained calm and elegant, not showing any fear at all. The eldest princess saw this and her heart was filled with admiration. She walked beside Yiting Xian and stood shoulder to shoulder with him. Her brows were raised as she looked around. As long as someone dared to harm Yiting Xian, she would dare to beat them up, no matter who they were. Even Na Mu Qiu was secretly praising him in his heart. He had always looked down on the West Chu people, but he never thought that this weak scholar who couldn't even lift a bucket of water would actually be this strong. If this person could be used by our East Qin, how great would that be? Chapter 670. What do you mean missing a bit? Brat, can you speak clearly? The East Qin people began to shout out. When Na Mu Qiu heard this, he couldn't help narrowing his eyes and looking at the text on the stele again. Suddenly, his body heavily trembled as his pupils shrank and his nostrils began to release heavy breaths. Everyone, please take a look. In the West Chu words I wrote, there is a punctuation here. This is our country's writing custom, there will be a punctuation in both the upper and lower sections. My country's princess has this punctuation on the stele, but Prince Na Mu's does not. The rules of the competition are that both sides cannot make any mistakes. Although Prince Na Mu only missed a small punctuation, according to the rules, it is the princess' victory. Everyone, are you convinced of your loss? After Yiting Xian said this, the East Qin people all looked at his finger with wide eyes. They found that it was on the stele and their country's prince did not. They couldn't help looking at each other in blank dismay, not making a sound. As for the West Chu ministers, they all let out cheers with expressions of joy. Everyone's brows danced as they felt their hearts being uplifted. Not long ago, they were all inexplicably depressed, looking like defeated roosters, but in the blink of an eye, they were all filled with smiles. Even Empress Dowager Zhou in the stands revealed a satisfied smile on her serious face. The result of this competition had been completely reversed. No one would have thought that the result would be like this. It was completely out of everyone's expectations. Chu Xiaoyang was pleasantly surprised, but his palms were covered in cold sweat. Before the results of the competition came out, the back of his shirt was already drenched in sweat. It was only at this moment that his heart, which had risen to his throat, finally calmed down. Ning, you've won, you've won. He was filled with excitement as he tightly held her hand. If it wasn't for everyone watching, he would have pulled her into his embrace. Chen Ning only gave a soft sound. Towards this result, she was not surprised at all. This was because Yiting Xian had already given her a hint and she understood this hint. Na Mu Qiu lost because he was too arrogant, but in terms of true strength, he was not below her. Her win this time could be said to be due to luck. Compared to the excitement of the West Chu ministers, the East Qin people all had faces filled with dissatisfaction. They felt that they had lost unjustly. Wasn't it just a full stop? What did it count for? These West Chu people had actually dug a trap for the Crown Prince to jump in. This was truly a trap. Your Highness, the West Chu people are too sly. We can't admit defeat. Your Highness, you can't let this go like this. We can't let this go. Your Highness, we can't let this go like this. We have to ask their emperor for justice. The East Qin envoys surrounded Na Mu Qiu, filled with anger as they glared at Yiting Xian. They looked at Ning Ning. The envoys immediately shut their mouths and quietly waited for the Crown Prince to make his decision. A win is a win, a loss is a loss. I, Na Mu Qiu, have always been honest and upright. I've never been a shameless person. This prince admits that I've lost this competition. Na said in na, and mu na. Chapter 671. Although Na Mu Qiu admitted defeat, his position in the hearts of the East Qin envoys had increased by a level. The West Chu ministers all gave a thumbs up to Na Mu Qiu's attitude of admitting defeat because they were lucky to win this round. If Na Mu Qiu insisted on not admitting defeat, they would not have been able to do anything. But the one the ministers praised the most was naturally the one who won the first round of the West Chu competition. They all congratulated Chu Xiaoyang, praising him for marrying an intelligent princess. Not only was she smart, but she was also beautiful. They were filled with envy. Chu Xiaoyang felt that he had never been this glorious in his life before. All the glory and favor he had received could not compare to today. Although everyone was praising his princess, in his ears, it made him feel even more happy than praising him. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were filled with joy. His heart was filled with joy. Ning, this king being able to marry you is the greatest blessing of my life. While he was receiving the congratulations of the ministers, he did not forget to find a chance to whisper in her ear. His eyes were filled with joy. Chen Ning bit her lower lip and did not say a word. Chu Xiaoyang was so excited that his face was red, but her face was very pale. Even her lips had lost their color. Chu Xiaoyang saw this and couldn't help feeling his heart ache. He held her hand and felt that her fingertips were ice cold. Ning, you're still injured. Since we've already won, let's go back to the palace. This king will find the best doctor to treat your injuries. He was a little impatient to bring her away from here. He could see several gazes filled with enmity and jealousy looking at him. He could also see Na Mu Qiu's beast-like eyes staring at her without blinking, filled with ambition. This made him feel a chill run down his spine. He felt her fingers gently tremble in his palm. He wanted to pull back, but he quickly tightened his grip. Ning, this king has already done what you wanted this king to do. This king hopes that you can also do what you promised. He whispered in her ear. She seemed to feel Na Mu Kyo's overbearing gaze and raised her head. As expected, she met Na Mu Kyo's gaze head-on. Na Mu Kyo grinned at her, his snow-white teeth glistening in the sunlight like a beautiful cheetah. She frowned slightly. He had clearly lost, and the agreement between them was invalid. Why was he still smiling so brightly? However, she did not want to guess what Na Mu Kyo was thinking. After the competition, she had used up a large amount of physical and mental energy. Right now, her head was dizzy and she just wanted to find a place to lie down and have a good sleep. Chu Xiaoyang, take me away from here. I want to find a quiet place to sleep, my head really hurts. She closed her eyes and felt that the noise around her was making her head hurt even more. Since fate's hand pushed her to Chu Xiaoyang's side again, then it was him. She was really tired now, so tired that she didn't have the strength to fight against fate. All right, I'll immediately take you away. Chu Xiaoyang's heart filled with wild joy. He understood the meaning behind her words. She did not go back on her word. After so many twists and turns, just when he thought he would lose her, she actually returned to his side. There was nothing in this world that made him happier than this. Chapter 672. Third brother, where are you going? A white-clothed figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Chu Xiaoyang looked over and saw that it was Chu Xiaobai. He snappily said, Xiaobai, move aside. Your third sister-in-law isn't feeling well, so this king wants to take her away from here. Is third sister-in-law not feeling well? Chu Xiaobai looked at her and found that her face was very white. That pair of eyes that always shined were covered by her long eyelashes and he could not see her expression at all. The wind blew through her hair, and strands of it danced around her face. Chu Xiaoyang helped her put her hair behind her ears. His actions were very considerate and she did not dodge his hand. Third sister-in-law, you are a great contributor to our West Chu country. Tonight the emperor will hold a large celebration banquet in the palace and this banquet is specially prepared for third sister-in-law. If you don't attend, the emperor and the ministers will be disappointed. Chu Xiaobai said in a sour voice. When he saw this scene, his heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. Especially when he thought of Mo Chuan spitting out a mouthful of blood and seeing her and Chu Xiaoyang's affectionate appearance, his heart was suddenly filled with depression. It was not for himself, but rather for the emperor. As long as she was happy, he would be willing to be hurt to make her happy. But how could he have thought that in just a few short days, she would suddenly change? If she didn't like the emperor, why would she provoke the emperor? Since she liked him, why didn't she like him to the end? What was going on between her and his third brother? Chu Xiaobai found that he was becoming more and more confused. He couldn't see through her and couldn't understand her. No wonder people say that a woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea, never being understood. Xiaobai, did you not hear me clearly? She's not feeling well, this king will bring her back to the palace to find a doctor. Chu Xiaoyang's voice was already filled with impatience. He really liked and loved his little brother Chu Xiaobai, but when he thought of how he had intimately called her Ning, and how she had called him Xiaobai, the thorns on his body stood up. Ning, your injuries. Chu Xiaobai looked at her pale lips and thought of the two deep scars on her wrists. The resentment in his heart instantly disappeared and there was only a deep sense of pity for her. He couldn't help taking a step forward, but Chu Xiaoyang had already moved in front of her, cutting off his line of sight of her. Chu Xiaobai, this king will clearly tell you one more time. The name Ning is not something you should call her. She is your third sister-in-law and will always be. I hope that you will abide by your duties. That way, you will still be this king's brother. You are still young, I don't want you to lose your mind because of something. Understand? Chu Xiaoyang stared at the other side. He could see the thing he didn't want to see the most from Chu Xiaobai's eyes, making him even more jealous. Why did his own little brother like her too? Why? 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 Of her, of his. He would never allow anyone to take her away from him. He would never allow it. He would not allow anyone to take her away from him, he would not allow it. His eyes suddenly turned cold, like a sinister and cold snake, emitting a faint chill. Chapter 673. He did like her, but he had never thought of taking her for himself. He just wanted her to be happy, and if the person she liked was his third brother, then he could accept it. But, did she really like his third brother? Why had he never seen her look at his third brother like that or smile at him like that? Third sister-in-law, are you really leaving with third brother? Are you really willing? Chu Xiaobai swallowed the rest of his words. He knew that she would understand even if he didn't ask. If she wasn't willing and if she was being forced by his third brother, he would not let her leave no matter what. Chu Xiaobai's words were like a knife that stabbed deep into her heart, filling her bleeding wound with a heavy pain. She did not know how much effort it took to stop herself from thinking about Mo Chuan. She really did not dare think about it, she did not even dare look at him. She was afraid that after seeing him, she would not be willing to leave him no matter what. But why did Xiaobai mention him? Could she really be willing? She was unwilling. So what if she was unwilling? She had already promised Chu Xiaoyang. If she dared go back on her word, Chu Xiaoyang would tear apart his face in front of everyone. He would even cause a scene in front of the East Qin envoys. What face would Mo Chuan have at that time? She did not care about her own reputation, but she cared about his reputation and prestige. He was the ruler of a country, a good emperor who was loved and respected by the West Chu citizens and ministers. She knew how much effort he had put into being a good emperor, and she knew that he had great ambitions, so she could not harm him no matter what. Since leaving him was the best way to love him, she could only leave him. Chen Ning looked up. Her eyes were like water and her eyes were like ice. Her strange eyes made Chu Xiaobai's heart turn cold. He is my husband and I am his princess, of course I have to be with him. As for my injuries, naturally my husband will take care of me, there is no need for others to worry about me. Xiaoyang, let's go. She reached out her hand and took the initiative to hold Chu Xiaoyang's hand. Chu Xiaoyang immediately intertwined his fingers with hers and tightly held her hand in his palm. He raised his chin and looked at Chu Xiaobai with a victorious gaze. Xiaobai, did you hear your third sister-in-law's words clearly? Do you need this king to repeat it for you? Chu Xiaobai's face went from red to white and from white to green. He stared at Chen Ning, not daring to believe that these words had come from her mouth. Under the moonlight, in the flower forest, the scene of her and Mo Chuan kissing was deeply imprinted in his mind. The scene of her kissing Mo Chuan under the moonlight was deeply imprinted in his mind. But in the blink of an eye, everything had changed. In her mouth, Mo Chuan and himself had become bystanders. She only had third brother in her eyes. It was said that women were fickle and she was not an exception. Listen. I understand. This is a matter between you and your wife. I'm just worrying about it. Hee, third brother and third sister-in-law, I wish you a happy marriage and a happy life together. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly turned around and walked back to her with large strides. He held out his hand to her. Chapter 674. Chu Xiaobai gave a bitter smile. His eyes went past Chu Xiaoyang and fell onto Chen Ning's face behind him. Third sister-in-law, since you've already decided to be with third brother, then you won't need the imperial edict this little brother asked for. How about you give it back to this little brother and let this little brother return it to its rightful owner? Return it to where it came from." At this moment, he suddenly felt his heart ache for the emperor. He suddenly understood the emperor's mood and why he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing her ruthlessly fall out like this, even his chest was filled with blood and he almost spat out blood. Not to mention the emperor who had never been moved, but once he was moved, he would not be happy even in death. The emperor must have been hurt by her and was in extreme pain. He stared at her and wanted to hate her, but seeing her beautiful face, he couldn't bring himself to hate her. He could only help the emperor take back the heart he had given her. Chen Ning once again raised her long and dense lashes. She stared at him with her dark eyes. She slowly said, "That imperial edict. It's already gone. It's gone. I burned it with my own hands. It turned into ashes and disappeared with the wind. I can't find it anymore." Chu Xiaobai stared at her. He hoped that she was lying to him and that not a single word she said was true. That was the freedom she had longed for. How could she personally burn it? Could it be that she had been acting before? The person she truly liked was not the emperor, but rather his third brother. Laughable, truly laughable. Chu Xiaobai felt that he had done a very stupid thing. He actually felt that she was not happy and was not happy, yet he desperately wanted to help her obtain the freedom and happiness she wanted. In her eyes, he must be the #1 fool in the world, right? She must have been secretly laughing at him a long time ago. Chu Xiaobai's eyes filled with heat. He had treated her wholeheartedly, but she had even played with him. Playing with the emperor and himself like this, it was very interesting for her, wasn't it? He really wanted to question her loudly, but his lips moved, and he didn't say a word. She had never given him any promises and she had never given him a single chance. From beginning to end, it was all his wishful thinking. It was him who was infatuated with her, it was him who was willing to work like a horse for her, it was him who thought of ways to make her smile. She had never asked anything of him and everything he had done was something he was willing to do. Therefore, he had no right and no reason to question her. Chu Xiaobai did not say anything. He just turned around and silently left. He didn't turn around, so he didn't know that after he turned around, she was like a leaf, floating to the ground. Chu Xiaoyang reached out to catch her. He picked up the fainted her and quickly left the field. Chu ministers were all filled with joy. He picked her up from the ground and quickly left the field. Mo Chuan and Empress Dowager Zhou were surrounded by the excited ministers, receiving the congratulations of the ministers, so they did not see this at all. It wasn't until the ministers mentioned tonight's celebration banquet and the person who won the first competition for West Chu that someone noticed that Chu Xiaoyang and his princess had disappeared. King Ding Yuan. Ding Yuan. King Ding Yuan. Not only is His Highness gone, even the princess consort is gone. Could they have left? Chapter 675. Mo Chuan had an indifferent expression as he sat on the dragon throne, facing the joyful ministers. As the emperor, his lips curled up, revealing a faint smile. The ministers were already used to his indifferent expression. Being able to see a faint smile on the emperor's face was already a rare thing. No one knew how much strength Mo Chuan used to make himself smile and no one could see his strange expression. No one knew that under his smile, his heart was bleeding. He had been trying his best not to think of her, but her name had been constantly mentioned by others, lingering in his ears. When he heard that she had disappeared, the calm he was trying to maintain was finally broken. He suddenly stood up, his tall figure standing proudly in the crowd. Looking around, his deep eyes quickly swept through the crowd, and sure enough, he did not find her figure. No matter where she was, no matter how many people there were, he would always be the first to find her. But he looked around 3 times and did not see her. even Chu Xiaoyang had disappeared. Mo Chuan's breathing stopped and his heart filled with a bad premonition. Could it be that Na Mu Kuo was not willing and then? He looked at the East Qin stands and found that the East Qin people had already left without a single one remaining. Na Mu Kuo had also disappeared without a trace. He immediately gave an order in a loud voice, "Someone, send the imperial army to find King Ding Yuan and the Ding Yuan princess. There's no need to find them." A melancholy voice rang out. Chu Xiaobai came in through the crowd. His elegant brows were filled with a melancholy that could not be erased. This made the ministers very confused. When everyone was celebrating, why was King Jing's face filled with melancholy? Third sister-in-law is not feeling well, so third brother has brought her back to the palace to rest. Third brother said that he will take good care of third sister-in-law and there is no need for others to worry about her. Chu Xiaobai repeated Chu Xiaoyang's words in a stiff voice. Oh. Mo Chuan softly nodded. He did not say anything else as he calmly sat back down in his chair. Chu Xiaobai stared at him. He could not understand why he was this calm after hearing his words, as if nothing had happened. She was like this and he was also like this. Why was it that only his heart felt like it was being fried in oil? Didn't the two of them like each other? But in the blink of an eye, the man was heartless and the woman was heartless. Could it be that they had never given their hearts to each other? Chu Xiaobai was more and more confused. If he liked a person, he would give it his all and would not hold back his love. If she was taken away by a lion or tiger, he would take her back even if it. But what about the emperor? When he heard that his beloved girl had been taken away, he would not care about it. He hoped that after the emperor heard the news, he would immediately chase after them all the way to third brother's residence and snatch third sister-in-law back. This was what a man with true love should do. He stared at the emperor and his heart was so depressed that it was about to explode. West Chu winning against East Qin should have been a matter for the entire country to celebrate, but he could not be happy at all. Your Majesty, this subject's body isn't feeling well, so I'll be taking my leave. This subject will also be returning to my residence to rest. He angrily said. Mo Chuan shook his head, Xiaobai, you cannot leave. Chapter 676. Xiaobai, this one needs you. Mo Chuan said in a deep voice. Of course he understood Chu Xiaobai's meaning, but he could not tell Chu Xiaobai what he was feeling. As the ruler of a country, he had to consider many more things than Chu Xiaobai and it was much more complicated. He could not be like Chu Xiaobai and do things that would disgrace the country and the royal family. Especially when the East Qin country was eyeing West Chu, he could not lose the hearts of the people. If he could not sit firmly as the emperor, it would give the East Qin country a chance and West Chu would become unstable again. Once war broke out, the citizens would lose their homes. Mo Chuan could not let any of this happen. There was a heavy burden on his shoulders and no one knew how heavy this burden was. He did not want to carry it, but he had to carry it because other than him, no one else could bear it. Although Chu Xiaobai's seniority was lower than his, he had always treated Chu Xiaobai like a brother. He was his left and right arm, he needed Chu Xiaobai's arms to support him. He had already lost his most beloved girl. If he lost his best brother, he did not know if he would have the strength to stand up and pass this crisis. He was a human, not a god. He also had times when he was weak and injured. His right hand was placed on Chu Xiaobai's shoulder. Chu Xiaobai's body slightly trembled, as if he could feel the heavy burden. He straightened his shoulders and his eyes lit up. This minister will always stand by the emperor's side. His voice was firm and his eyes were even more firm. Mo Chuan nodded and patted his shoulder. He slowly said, Someone, go prepare for tonight's banquet. This one hopes to see King Ding Yuan and his princess at the banquet and also invite His Highness Namu to attend. He knew that winning today's competition was only the first hurdle. There were still 2 more rounds left, and he believed that Na Mu Kyo would not give up so easily. He would definitely come up with more difficult and strange questions. The stone in Empress Dowager Zhou's heart finally fell down. She looked at Imo Chuan with a gratified expression. This son did not disappoint her. She had seen everything that had happened today. As a woman, she had always been very meticulous. In addition, after so many years in the palace, her eyes had become even more wise and penetrating. She had seen her son's disappointment turn into sadness and despair. She had seen her son's heart being hurt and bleeding. However, under such circumstances, he was still able to maintain the dignity and demeanor of a monarch. He was still able to maintain a calm mind, and was still able to deal with state affairs in an orderly manner. This was enough to show that he was becoming more and more mature, and had more and more of the forbearance, calmness, and decisiveness that an emperor needed. As for her son's injuries, Empress Dowager Zhou believed that he would definitely recover in the future. Emperor Xiao Bai. She was holding Su Jin's hand as she stood up and sat on the sedan. She had been thinking the entire way. Her son had grown up, and he also had that thought. It was time for her to make plans for her son. As for the future empress of the West Chu country, she had to carefully consider it and choose a good girl with outstanding virtue. Empress Dowager Zhou decided that once the East Qin envoy matter was over and they left the capital city, she would immediately take care of this matter. Empress Dowager Zhou decided that once the East Qin envoy matter was over and they left the capital city, she would immediately take care of this matter. Chapter 677. Chen Ning did not know how long she had slept for and did not know that she had fallen into Chu Xiaoyang's embrace. She was just too tired, so tired that she wanted to die. Especially after that racking her brain in the competition, she had exhausted all her energy, so she fell into a deep sleep. Finally, she opened her eyes in a daze and found that it was pitch black in front of her. There were no stars or moon and her consciousness was still unclear. Her head was still buzzing with pain. Where am I? Am I dead? Am I in hell? Why is there no light? Her consciousness did not stay clear for long before she fell asleep again. When she woke up again, she found that there was still no light in front of her and she was in complete darkness. This time her consciousness was completely clear and she knew that she was not dead, she was still alive. But where was she? She could feel that she was lying on a soft and comfortable bed. Her body was covered with a quilt, and the silky material stuck to her delicate skin. It was smooth, soft, and very comfortable. So the reason I can't see anything is because it is night and there is no light in the room. She thought in her heart. She knit her brows and thought of the last scene before she lost consciousness. She saw Chu Xiaobai's resolute figure and then she did not know anything else. Then was she brought back to the king's palace by Chu Xiaoyang. This was the flowing cloud pavilion. Chun Tao. Xia He. She raised her voice and shouted. She did not like the dark, especially this kind of darkness where there was no light at all. She was used to having a candle lit by the bed even when she was asleep, releasing a faint yellow light. There was no response. Her shout echoed in the air and there was not a single sound around her. Chen Ning suddenly realized that something was wrong. Because she could not hear anything. Although the flowing cloud pavilion was quiet, she would often hear the sound of the wind knocking on the window lattice at night. There would be crickets chirping outside the window and the night wind would bring a faint flower fragrance. Everything there was alive and the air was flowing. But she felt that there was a deathly aura around her. There was no wind, no flowing air, no crickets chirping, and no flower fragrance. All she could smell was a heavy smell. She suddenly sat up on the bed and wanted to get off the bed. She suddenly heard a clear clanging sound, like the sound of metal striking against metal. Following that, her wrists were tightened and she was pulled back onto the bed by something. She was shocked and reached out to touch it. She found that there were actually 2 iron chains that were firmly tied around her wrists. She moved her feet and found that both of her ankles were also tied by iron chains. The chains weren't long or thick, but they were extremely sturdy. They bound her to the bed with her body spread out in all directions. She was filled with shock and anger. It was clear that she had been imprisoned by someone. Is there anyone? Let me go. Chu Xiaoyang, was it you? Why did you lock me here? Chu Xiaoyang. She shouted through gritted teeth. Her voice echoed in the dark room, again and again. She called until her voice was hoarse, but no one answered her. Her throat was dry and painful, and she could no longer make a sound. She tried her best to open her eyes in the dark, but she still could not see anything. She panted heavily, and her heart was filled with fear. The fear of losing her freedom made her feel despair from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 678. If it's not Chu Xiaoyang, then it's Na Mu Qiu. It had to be one of the 2 of them. Chen Ning slowly calmed down and her brain recovered its ability to think. She quickly made a decision. She laid there without moving. Although she couldn't see anything, her eyes were wide open as she looked up. Her mind was quickly working. No matter who it was, she had to think of a way to get out of this situation. Suddenly, her ears twitched as she heard light footsteps coming from afar. Although the footsteps were very light and far away, this place was too quiet. It was so quiet that she could hear a pin drop on the ground. The footsteps became louder and louder, becoming clearer and clearer. The person walking seemed to be unsteady as they stumbled. Their footsteps were light and heavy. She couldn't help feeling suspicious. If it was Na Mu Qiu or Chu Xiaoyang, they were both Qigong experts and could walk silently, so how could she hear them? The footsteps stopped and then there was the sound of a key being opened, which was very clear in the darkness. Following this, she heard a heavy creaking sound as the door was slowly pushed open. A gust of damp air came in, carrying with it a rotten smell. Go in. A clear voice rang out and then there was the sound of staggering footsteps rushing into the room. Hearing this familiar voice, Chen Ning's heart sunk. It was Chu Xiaoyang. Compared to Chu Xiaoyang, she would rather fall into Na Mu Qiu's hands. She would rather be imprisoned by Na Mu Qiu. This was because Chu Xiaoyang was a completely unpredictable person to her. She never would have dreamed that after sleeping for a bit, she would be tied to the bed like a prisoner when she woke up. She bit her lips and silently laid on the bed, not making a sound. Your Highness, what is this place? What can this old man see? Where is the patient? An old voice trembled as it spoke. It was an unfamiliar voice. Caw! A light sound, like the sound of a flaming knife striking a flint, was heard. Then, a faint yellow flame lit up the room. After staying in the darkness for a long time, suddenly seeing light, Chen Ning felt it was a bit dazzling, so she closed her eyes. Go, treat her. If you can't treat her properly, this king will take your life. Chu Xiaoyang's voice was as cold as ice, penetrating into her bones. Although it wasn't directed at her, it still made her shiver. She opened her eyes and saw the tall figure of a man standing in front of the bed. There was a shadow covering her body, blocking the light. Although there was light behind him, she could still recognize him with a single glance. It really was Chu Xiaoyang. Although there was a light behind him, she was still able to recognize him. Chu Xiaoyang was holding a white-haired doctor in his hand. He brought him to the bed to check Chen Ning's pulse and suddenly found that she had opened her eyes. Her jet-black eyes were sparkling as she stared at him without blinking. He was instantly filled with joy and surprise. She didn't even know how long she had been unconscious. No matter how he called her or talked to her, she didn't respond at all. He almost thought that she was dead. But when he felt her pulse, listened to her heartbeat, and took her breath, he found out that she was still alive, but she was still unconscious. He didn't even know if she was really asleep or if she was pretending to be asleep so that she wouldn't open her eyes to see him. Chapter 679. Chen Ning moved her lips. Her throat was very dry and painful, and because of all the shouting, her voice had become hoarse. She moistened her lips and said in a hoarse voice, "Chu Xiaoyang, why did you tie me up? Are you treating me like a prisoner?" "Ning, I'm doing this for your own good. You're too tired, so you need a quiet place to recover. This place is very quiet and no one will disturb you. You can be assured that I will always be by your side." Chu Xiaoyang revealed a smile. His cold and handsome face became gentle because of this smile, looking very handsome under the dim candlelight. After he finished, he even thoughtfully covered her with the blanket. When he turned to face the doctor, the smile on his face immediately disappeared. Both his eyes and voice became cold and severe. "This king wants you to take a look at her. Are you deaf? If you're deaf, then your ears are useless." The old doctor trembled in fear and quickly said, "Your Highness, please calm down. This old man will take this girl's pulse." He had been muddle-headed into the king's palace and had been brought to this underground stone room by Chu Xiaoyang like a little chick. He had thought that he was going to take a look at an evil criminal, but who would have thought that the patient would be a beautiful young girl? Moreover, this young girl's attitude towards His Highness was very bad. Not only was His Highness not angry, he even gave her a pleasant smile. He unknowingly fell into a daze and began to guess the relationship between the two of them. After being reprimanded by Chu Xiaoyang, how could he dare keep looking? He immediately put down the medicine pillow and placed it under Chen Ning's wrist. When he was about to take her pulse, he suddenly found that her white as jade wrist was wrapped in a thick layer of gauze and there was a chain tied to it. He couldn't help being stunned. "Why aren't you taking a look?" Chu Xiaoyang coldly said. The doctor revealed an awkward expression, reporting to Your Highness, "This girl's wrist is injured and it's right above her pulse. This old man wants to take a look at this girl's injury first. What does Your Highness think? Quickly look." Chu Xiaoyang impatiently reprimanded. Don't look at how the doctor he had caught was the most famous doctor in the capital, but he did not look at the other side's medical skills at all. They were all people with false reputations. How could they compare to the doctors in the palace? However, he could not alert the imperial physician or else news of her would definitely be leaked. The doctor carefully took off the gauze on Chen Ning's wrist. Seeing the deep wound, he instantly took a cold breath. He couldn't help looking at Chen Ning's face a few more times. To have such a deep wound on her blood vessels, just how much blood did this girl lose? No wonder her body was so weak and her face was so pale. Paw! Suddenly, he received a heavy slap on his face. The slap made him see stars and he couldn't tell north from south. Ning, this bastard. With a sound, chew, 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 Chen, Ning, Chen, she. Chen, 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 she, Ning, our Chen, chew, he. Chen Ning couldn't take it anymore and said in a hoarse voice, "Chu Xiaoyang, can you not hurt people anymore?" Chu Xiaoyang gave a snort. "Although he's old, his lust hasn't died. He actually dared to look at your face." Chapter 680. Oh. Then this king has wrongly blamed him. Dr. Yi, stand up. This king has wrongly hit you. Continue to take her pulse. Chu Xiaoyang grabbed the old doctor's collar and lifted him up from the ground. He even kindly waved his sleeves to help him brush off the dirt on his body. This respectful attitude made Dr. Ye's heart tremble. He said in a flattered voice, This old one doesn't dare. If you cure her illness, this king will heavily reward you. Chu Xiaoyang actually spoke to him in an amiable manner. Dr. Yi did not even dare raise his head. He placed 3 fingers on Qin Ning's pulse and carefully felt it before taking his hand back. He carefully replied, "Your Highness, this girl is not in any serious trouble. Her body is weak from losing too much blood and she hasn't had a good rest, so she's been unconscious for a long time. As long as she has a good rest, she will quickly recover." Chu Xiaoyang was still not assured and said, "Does she not need to take medicine?" Dr. Yi pondered it for a bit. Medicine is 30% poisonous. This girl's body is very good, so if she takes medicine, it will have the opposite effect. It's better to take care of her body through food. This old man has a few recipes that can replenish the blood and nourish the body, so it's better than taking medicine. When Qin Ning heard this, she couldn't help secretly admiring Dr. Ye's medical skills. She was clear on her body, and it was because she had lost too much blood and overworked her brain that she had been unconscious for a long time. Medicine. This method isn't bad. How about this, you stay in the palace to take care of her body. When she's better, this king will send you out of the palace. If she needs any medicine right now, you can immediately make it for her." Chu Xiaoyang made his decision without any explanation. He clapped his hands together and sent out a signal. Following that, a black-clothed secret guard appeared in the room and bowed to him. "Take Dr. Yi away and find a room for him to make the medicine. Give him all the ingredients he needs, and once it's done, immediately bring it here," Chu Xiaoyang ordered. The secret guard agreed and took Dr. Yi away. Dr. Yi wanted to object, but he did not dare. He could only secretly curse his bad luck. The heavy stone door closed with a ping sound. The light in the room was as small as a bean, and there was only the 2 of them left. Qin Ning laid on the bed and looked around. She found that this was a spacious stone room that was made of large rocks. There was only a single stone door and no windows. When she smelled the rotten smell, she guessed that this stone room must have been built deep underground. The furnishings in the stone room were very simple, but very exquisite. For example, the bed she was lying on was a bed with exquisite and complicated carvings. The tables, chairs, and utensils in the room were all very exquisite, which was incompatible with the rough style of the entire stone room. It could be imagined that these tools and beds had just been moved in. This stone room was most likely built by Chu Xiaoqin. This was a secret room. Was he planning to imprison him here for the rest of his life? Chu Xiaoyang was sitting in front of the bed and he was currently applying medicine to her wrist. His movements were very careful, not hurting her at all. After applying the medicine, he used a new layer of gauze to wrap her wrist. After wrapping up her left wrist, he applied medicine to her right wrist. Qin Ning did not say a word and did not refuse. She just looked down and silently watched his every move. Chapter 681. He had finally wrapped up the wounds on her wrists. He was so tired that he was covered in sweat. Actually, he was not tired, but he had never done this kind of thing before, so he couldn't help being flustered. The more he wanted to do it, the more he messed it up. Seeing her wrists wrapped like dumplings, he felt a bit embarrassed, but he was not willing to admit that it was ugly. "Ning, are you thirsty? Do you want to drink some water?" Chu Xiaoyang looked at her and said with a gentle expression. Qin Ning nodded. Her throat was already in so much pain that she couldn't speak. "All right, I'll immediately pour some water for you." Chu Xiaoyang's face flashed with a look of joy. Because she did not scold him or get angry. He thought that when she found out that she was imprisoned here, she would go crazy with anger, but she didn't. He poured a cup of tea from the teapot on the table. The tea was a bit cold, so he held it in his palm. He secretly circulated his internal energy and warmed up the cup of tea. Then he walked in front of the bed and put a hand on her shoulder before placing the cup of tea by her lips. She drank it like rain and then said in a hoarse voice, "More." Hearing her hoarse voice, he couldn't help feeling his heart ache. He lovingly rubbed her hair and said with a smile, "All right." She drank 3 cups of tea in one go before her burning throat stopped hurting. She laid back down on the bed and looked at the embroidery on top of the curtains, silently falling into a daze. Chu Xiaoyang sat beside her and looked at her without blinking. Seeing that she was still looking at the curtains, not even looking at him and not saying a single word, he began to feel uneasy. "Ning, you hate me, don't you? You hate me for locking you up here and not giving you freedom, don't you?" He said in a low voice as his lips slightly curled up. He actually understood her. He also knew what she wanted, but right now, he couldn't do it. Chen Ning still did not say a word. Hearing his words, she did not even blink as she just looked up at the sky. She felt like a part of her heart had already died. She did not want to listen to a single word of his and did not want to believe him at all. "Ning, look at me and talk to me." Chu Xiaoyang could not stand being ignored by her. He would rather she scold him or hit him, it was better than her being this cold. He grabbed her shoulder and forcefully shook her, causing her black hair to rustle. She felt dizzy from his shaking and finally closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her eyes were filled with mist as she looked at him. "Chu Xiaoyang, is this your way of loving me?" Her voice was as low as a whisper because she did not have the strength to speak. "What do you mean?" He knit his brows. "Lock me up like a prisoner, lock me to this bed, and then wait for you to pamper me at any time. Is this what you want?" She looked at him calmly before looking away. She stared at the candle flame behind him. His eyebrows furrowed like a lock as he glared at her. With a heavy sigh, he grabbed her chin and forced her to look at him. "Ning, I'm doing this for your own good. If I didn't do this, would you obediently stay by my side?" I. Chapter 682. Chu Xiaoyang's body trembled. He tightly pursed his lips and the hand holding her shoulder unconsciously began to tremble, but he did not say a word. He just silently looked at her. She paused and then continued to say, "You don't know how to love and you don't know how to love. The woman you love is the saddest woman in the world and I am the saddest person in the world, unfortunately to be loved by you." After saying this, she closed her eyes. It was clear that she did not want to say a single word to him. The saddest woman. Could it be that he liked her? Shouldn't she be the happiest woman in the world? Chu Xiaoyang took a deep breath and his chest filled with anger. He desperately suppressed it, telling himself that she was injured and that she couldn't withstand his anger. He had said that he would treat her well, so he couldn't be angry. But the more he tried to suppress it, the more he couldn't suppress it. He was an irritable person and he had endured it for a long time for her, but she did not appreciate it at all. She even used those cold words to hurt his heart. Could it be that just because he loved her, he had to humble himself and apologize in front of her? Then was he still a man? Chen Ning. Listen to me clearly. You are this king's woman and this king wants to treat you well, but don't force me. If you disobey me again, this king will not be this polite to you. He reached out his hand and pinched her slender neck, slowly tightening it. She couldn't breathe, but she stubbornly closed her eyes with a stubborn expression. He loved the look on her face. The anger that had been rising was slowly extinguished, and his fingers unconsciously loosened. Ning, don't make me angry anymore. Otherwise, I don't even know what kind of harm I'll do to you. He saw that her snow-white neck was swollen from his fingers and his heart filled with tenderness. He lowered his head and gently kissed the red mark on her neck. Her body violently trembled and she suddenly opened her eyes. She looked at him like she was looking at a poisonous snake, her eyes were cold and filled with disgust. Her wrists were chained up and it was hard for her to move, but she still moved her neck over and used the back of her hand to wipe the place he had kissed. This action enraged him once again. Chen Ning. This king kissed you and you're already this disgusted. If this king wanted you right now, what would you do? He fiercely grabbed her neck again. She closed her eyes and indifferently said, "Up to you. I'll just treat it as being bitten by a dog." You. His teeth creaked as he gritted them, wanting to strangle her to death. She had this ability. She could easily stir up the anger in his chest and make him as violent and furious as a lion, wishing that he could eat her up one bite at a time. With a chi-lock sound, his hand that was strangling her neck landed on the front of her shirt. With a tug, he revealed her smooth skin and jade-like bones. But she lay flat on the bed, her eyes closed, her long eyelashes motionless. From the moment she found herself chained to the bed by him, she had guessed that this moment would come. She would not be able to escape him. Chu, Chen, Chu, Xiao, to said, Chin. Chen, his Chu, to Chin, S and Chin. Chen, to Chen, Chin. Chu Xiao Yang, if you want this body, then take it. It belongs to you in the first place. Chapter 683. The dim yellow candlelight shined on her body. The candlelight swayed and her skin released a jade-like luster. She laid there without moving, treating herself like she was already dead. Chu Xiao Yang's love for her was always a beast-like possession. He was not Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan respected and cared for her. She was very glad that she did not love the wrong person. Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan. She closed her eyes and silently said Mo Chuan's name in her heart. She had tried not to think of him, but at this time, her mind was filled with his figure. She thought of their first hug, their first kiss, and their first skin contact. He had always been very considerate of her feelings and treated her as if she was in the palm of his hand. His every move was very gentle, and when they were intimate, she could feel his love and tenderness. It was clear that she was willing, but he endured so much pain and didn't take that step. He said that he would leave the most beautiful moment for their nuptial chamber. Nuptial chamber. She would never have that beautiful day with him. Her long eyelashes slowly became wet. She heard Chu Xiao Yang's rapid breathing and heartbeat and felt his hot breath on her skin. Her skin began to tremble. It was not fear, but rather disgust. Ning you're very beautiful, and your body is also very beautiful. It's like a budding flower waiting for someone to pluck it. I really hope that I can be your first man, but if I really take you in this kind of situation, am I still a man? She suddenly heard Chu Xiao Yang's voice. His voice was unexpectedly calm and she couldn't help opening her eyes. Under the candlelight, his deep eyes fell onto her face. They were dark and deep and she couldn't understand the emotions in his eyes at all. He pulled the quilt over her, and with his arms stretched out on either side of her, he leaned over her to look at her. I want to have you, but not now, not when you are chained to the bed by me. I chained you up because I care about you too much and I'm afraid of losing you. You don't know how afraid I am. He raised a hand and slowly stroked her face. His gaze was infatuated with her face, and his eyes were filled with deep love and heartache. Ning, you don't need to be afraid of me, I'm the one afraid of you. Don't you know that you hold all of my happiness and happiness in your hands? I'm really afraid of losing you. They all want to take you away from me, but you are mine, no one can take you away. As for you, you clearly love me. Why do you want to leave me? You like that man, don't you? You like him because he's the emperor, don't you? But don't you know that his throne should have been mine? Chu Xiao Yang suddenly became excited and his slightly trembling voice became louder. His eyes filled with blood and anger, just like a wild beast about to explode. Chen Ning's lips moved. No, the reason she liked Mo Chuan was not because he was the emperor, but because his love for her was something that he did not ask for in return. She bit her lips and did not say anything because she knew that if she praised Mo Chuan at this time, it would completely anger the man in front of her. Chapter 684. Another day, I will definitely tell you this secret, but not now. Ning, just obediently wait here for me to come back. You don't need to worry or be afraid, there will be people taking care of you after I leave. If you need anything, just shout and someone will help you get it. He got up and stood in front of the bed. He looked at her tightly closed lips and her tightly closed eyes, and he smiled maliciously. Ning, don't you want to ask where this king is going? She closed her eyes and turned a deaf ear. Hearing that he was going to leave, she let out a sigh of relief from the bottom of her heart. She did not want to know where he was going, she hoped that he would never come back. Chu Xiaoyang lowered his head and his lips almost touched her ear. With a gentle laugh, he said, "This king is going to the palace for a banquet. This is a celebration banquet that he has specially prepared for you, and he has personally sent an imperial decree for this king to bring you along. Tell me, if he knew that you were locked in this deep underground stone room by this king, what kind of expression would he have? He wants to see you, but this king won't let him see you." Ha, 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 ha. He gave a proud laugh. Chen Ning forcefully bit her lips. Her body began to tremble from her anger and the blanket began to tremble. "Don't bite yourself, it will make my heart ache, my good Ning, He used his fingers to pry open her tightly closed lips and saw a smear of red on his fingertips. It was her blood, the blood that flowed out when she bit her lips. He smiled as he brought the blood-stained finger to his lips. Using the tip of his tongue to taste it, he praised, "Your blood is really sweet, I wonder if your lips will taste this sweet. If it wasn't for the fact that it's almost time, this king would really want to taste you." He stood up and gave another loud laugh. His laughter echoed in the stone room. This king can't wait to enter the palace right now. This king wants to personally tell him that the woman he wants to see the most and his most beloved woman can't come. I think his expression will be very interesting. Ning, wait for me to come back and I will tell you everything that happened in the palace banquet. Especially that man, this king wants to see how proud he is. After he said this, he walked out with large steps. The heavy stone door closed behind him, releasing a heavy sound. Chu Xiaoyang left for a long time. She slowly opened her eyes. The room was lit by a small lamp, releasing a dim light. Although the light was weak, it was much better than the darkness from before. She stared blankly at the ceiling above her head. Through the curtains, she could see thick and heavy rocks. This stone room must have been built very sturdily. Not to mention that her limbs were chained up, even if she could move freely, there was no way she could escape from here. Not to mention the fact that she knew that Chu Xiaoyang had left guards outside to guard her. She could not escape. But was she going to let him lock her up here like a prisoner for the rest of her life? She would not give. She would not give. Although he didn't take her body by force, it didn't mean that he didn't want to. As long as she stayed here, sooner or later she would become his possession, his plaything. She would lose her dignity as a human being. Although her limbs were locked and her body had lost its freedom, her mind was free. She would definitely be able to think of a way to get herself out of this predicament. Chapter 685. She knew that Chu Xiaoyang had already steeled his heart to lock her up here for the rest of her life. The only way now was for someone to send a message for her. If Mo Chuan and Chu Xiaobai knew that she was locked up here, they would definitely think of a way to save her. But who could help her send a message? The entire palace was filled with Chu Xiaoyang's people. Adding in the fact that she was locked up in this underground stone room, she could not see anyone at all. She believed that Chu Xiaoyang would definitely keep her information a secret. Suddenly, a light flashed in her mind and she thought of a person. That was Dr. Yi, who had taken her pulse not long ago. He was the only outsider that Chu Xiaoyang had brought in. Is there anyone here? Someone come. She raised her voice and shouted. Last time no one paid attention to her even if she shouted herself hoarse, but this time was different. She believed that since Chu Xiaoyang dared to say this, he would definitely leave someone outside to guard her and satisfy her request. As expected, as soon as her voice fell, she heard a voice come from outside the stone door. What does the princess consort need? That voice was very unfamiliar, but it was very respectful. It seemed like it was one of Chu Xiaoyang's secret guards. I'm hungry, I want to eat, she said. That voice sounded again. I asked the princess consort to wait a moment. Then there was no more movement. After a while, Chen Ning heard the sound of footsteps coming from outside. Following that, she heard the stone door open. The secret guard pushed open the stone door and said, "Go in." Under the dim candlelight, she saw Dr. Yi carrying a wooden tray. He was trembling with fear as he walked in. His face was filled with fear. When he entered the stone room and found that there was only Chen Ning inside, he let out a sigh of relief. "Miss, the medicinal cuisine is ready. Please enjoy." Dr. Yi walked in front of the bed with the wooden tray, but he suddenly remembered that the other side's wrist was chained to the bed. He couldn't help looking back at the secret guard and revealing an awkward expression. His heart was thinking that this old man wouldn't feed her, right? Chen Ning slightly raised her right hand and shook the chains. She coldly said to the secret guard behind Dr. Yi, "This princess wants to eat. Are you still not going to untie the chains on my wrist?" The secret guard hesitated for a bit before saying in a low voice, "Without His Highness' orders, this subordinate does not dare." "Very good, then you can feed this princess." Chen Ning did not force it as she spoke in a soft voice. The secret guard's heart skipped a beat. He secretly thought that this was a woman that His Highness regarded as his eyes. Other men would be slapped if they even looked at her, but he still dared to feed her. If His Highness knew of this, he would definitely cut off his head. When His Highness left, he told me that if this princess needed anything, I just had to say it. Now that this princess wants to eat, you're using all sorts of excuses to refuse this princess' request. Once His Highness returns, I will tell His Highness everything. Chen's face turned serious and she put on the princess's stance. The secret guard's heart was filled with bitterness, but if he was told to let Chen Ning go, he wouldn't dare even if he was given 120 times more courage. "I'm not asking you to let me go. I'm just asking you to unlock the chain on my right hand. Is that not okay? I am just a weak girl without the strength to truss a chicken and I don't know any martial arts. Could it be that I can still run?" The secret guard thought about it. There was only a girl and an old man in this stone room and they didn't know any martial arts. Would he be afraid of them flying into the sky? Chapter 686. The secret guard took out a small lock from his waist and unlocked the shackles on her right wrist before moving to the side. He was still very careful, not daring to be careless at all. Although he had unlocked one of her shackles, he still stared at her without blinking, afraid that she would make any strange movements. Chen Ning moved her wrist and supported herself up from the bed. She said to Dr. Yi, "Dr. Yi, it's hard for me to move, so I'll have to trouble you to bring the bowl of porridge closer." Dr. Yi said, "Yes, Princess Consort." He took 2 steps forward with the wooden plate and his attitude instantly became very respectful. He had thought that the girl on the bed had been kidnapped by His Highness, so he had been chained up. But when he heard the secret guard call her Princess Consort, he realized the other side's identity and did not dare to act rashly. Chen Ning saw that he was blocking the secret guard's line of sight. She picked up the spoon and tapped the bowl of porridge. She said, "This porridge is too hot, how can it be eaten? Dr. Yi, I'll have to trouble you to blow on it a bit for this princess. Yes, yes. Dr. Yi immediately blew on the porridge bowl. Chen Ning took this chance and dipped her finger into the soup in the bowl. She began to write on the wooden plate. I beg you for one thing. She quickly wrote these 4 words. Then she looked up and stared at Dr. Yi without blinking. Dr. Ye's old eyes suddenly opened wide and he looked at Chen Ning with a look of panic. He quickly lowered his head and blew on the porridge, not bothering with the 4 words she wrote. Chen Ning knew that he was afraid of Chu Xiaoyang. Thinking about it, she took off the golden hairpin in her hair and pulled on his sleeve. Her eyes revealed a pleading look as she placed the golden hairpin in his sleeve. Dr. Ye's heart skipped a beat. He felt the weight in his sleeve and knew that the golden hairpin was a precious item. His eyes revealed a look of greed as he blinked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning knew that he agreed. She let out a sigh of relief and continued to write. Please send a letter to King Jing'an's palace. Say that Ning is imprisoned in the underground stone room and please come save her. Dr. Yi saw these words and the wooden plate in his hand became unstable. The porridge knocked against the wooden plate and almost spilled out. She picked up the porridge and wiped away the words, not leaving a single trace. Dr. Yi, what ingredients did you put in this soup? Why does it taste so bitter? She said in a calm voice as she secretly pulled on Dr. Ye's sleeve. Dr. Yi finally came back to his senses. He looked at Chen Ning in a daze and licked his lips a few times. It's the yellow cattail, Panax note of ginseng, crane immortal grass, and schisandra. They are all blood-nourishing herbs and the taste is a bit bitter, but I understand. Dr. Yi wants to say that good medicine tastes bitter, right? Many thanks for Dr. Ye's efforts. Once this princess body recovers, I will heavily reward Dr. Yi. Chen Ning interrupted him and finished the porridge in a few bites. She placed the bowl back on the wooden plate and said to the secret guard, this porridge is too bitter, I'm not used to it. Dr. Yi is a doctor who writes prescriptions, his medical skills are very high, having him do this kind of rough work for this princess is too unfair to him. Send someone to send Dr. Yi back and also write down the herbs that Dr. Yi mentioned. Have the palace's chefs make them. Chen said. Seeing Chen, Yi, Chen, he said, Chen, Dr. Chen. After saying that, he walked forward and locked her right wrist. Chapter 687. Chen Ning gave an sound and then closed her eyes. The secret guard led Dr. Yi out of the stone room and locked the stone door. The footsteps of the two gradually faded away. She laid down on the bed and looked at the lamp on the table, letting out a faint sigh. Letting Dr. Yi help her send a message was the only method she could think of, but Dr. Yi could not be trusted. Whether he would help her send a message or not, she did not know and could not guess. The so-called money moves people's hearts. Perhaps Dr. Yi was a greedy person and would help her send a message for the sake of the golden hairpin. If he was as timid as a mouse and was afraid of Chu Xiaoyang, then he would turn around and sell her out. No matter what the result was, she had to take a gamble. Because this was her only chance. She did not let Dr. Yi go find Mo Chuan because she knew Dr. Yi was a commoner. He had no way of entering the palace and could not see Mo Chuan, but it was much easier to see Chu Xiaobai. She believed that once Chu Xiaobai knew of her situation, he would definitely come to save her. She had already done what she could, now all she had to do was wait. As for whether she could win this gamble or not, it was hard to predict. She decided not to guess the result of this gamble. She relaxed her mind and did not think about anything else, falling asleep not long after. At the same time, in the royal palace's Qing'an hall, it was filled with candles and wine. There was a grand banquet being held in the palace. In the large hall, there were all sorts of delicacies, fruits, and wine. The ministers were drinking the wine, tasting the delicacies, and enjoying the moving song and dance. Chu Xiaoyang was sitting in the middle of the crowd, looking very spirited and radiant. His purple robe made him look very handsome and outstanding. There were ministers coming to toast him from time to time, flattering him and praising him and his princess who was ill and could not attend the banquet. Everyone's praises almost drowned him. Speaking of this celebration banquet was set up for him and Qin Ning. His face was filled with smiles as he drank the wine, appearing to be in a very good mood. He had never had this kind of glory in his life before. Although this glory was given to him by her, he also felt proud. This was because she was his princess. Everyone praising his princess made him happier than praising himself. East Qin and West Chu had been at odds for many years, but West Chu had always been in a situation where they could not retaliate. They had never been able to gain the upper hand in East Qin. But today, Qin Ning had made a beautiful comeback for the West Chu country. Although there were still 2 more rounds to go, the victory of the first round was enough to boost everyone's confidence, giving them greater hope for the next 2 rounds. Compared to Chu Xiaoyang's glory, the Emperor Mo Chuan was much more silent. From beginning to end, he had barely spoken a word. He sat alone on the dragon throne facing the north, drinking the wine in his cup in solitude. Cup after cup, he couldn't remember how many cups he had drunk. Every cup of wine that entered his mouth was extremely bitter, but it wasn't as bitter as his heart. Mo Chuan remembered that when the banquet started not long ago, Chu Xiaoyang had arrived late. He couldn't sit still and couldn't help looking at the door until the eunuch loudly reported, "Ding Yuan is." He couldn't help but stand up from the dragon throne and raise his head in anticipation. Chapter 688. Chu Xiaoyang's purple robe fluttered in the wind and his long eyebrows reached his temples. He walked straight to the throne and bowed to Mo Chuan. "Greetings to the Emperor." He raised his brows in a slightly provocative manner and his lips curled into a faint smile. His expression was not respectful at all. But Mo Chuan was not angry. "Xiaoyang, why is it only you? Didn't this one give the order for you to come with the princess?" He softly said. "Oh. The Emperor is asking about this minister's princess." Chu Xiaoyang shrugged his shoulders and casually said, "She is sick, so she can't come to the banquet. I've let down the Emperor's good intentions, I ask for the Emperor's forgiveness." "Sick? What illness?" Mo Chuan stared into his eyes and said. He didn't believe it. If she was really sick, would he still be smiling so happily? "The east field is very windy and I was blown by the wind while riding, so I had a headache." "Is the Emperor satisfied with this answer?" Chu Xiaoyang raised his brows and said. Mo Chuan gritted his teeth and coldly looked at Chu Xiaoyang. He did not believe a single word he said. Chu Xiaoyang said in an uncaring voice, "If the Emperor does not have any other orders, then this minister will go to the banquet." After saying this, he turned around and slowly walked to his seat. He had a smile on his face as he chatted with the surrounding ministers. Mo Chuan's fingers in his sleeves tightly clenched into fists. He wished he could punch Chu Xiaoyang's smile off his face. Of course he knew why Chu Xiaoyang was smiling like this. It was because he had the qualifications to smile like this. But why didn't she come? Was it because she didn't want to come? Or was it because Chu Xiaoyang didn't want her to come? Mo Chuan thought of the decisive words she said to him on the field and her cold eyes. His heart was filled with a strong pain. Did she not want to see him? But did she know how much he wanted to see her again? Just a single glance was enough. Even if he could not have her, he did not hope for her to return to his side. As long as he saw her safe and happy, even if that happiness was brought to her by Chu Xiaoyang, he would be satisfied. The hall was filled with guests, laughing and dancing. It was a joyous and harmonious atmosphere. Everyone in the hall had a happy smile on their faces, but only he had no expression as he drank the bitter wine in his cup. His eyebrows, which were as clear as mountains, never relaxed. His body, which was like an orchid tree, swayed a little. He felt that he was drunk, but he couldn't stop the wine in his cup. "Emperor! You can't drink anymore." A clear and melodious voice rang in his ears. Mo Chuan slightly looked up. In front of him was a white-clothed handsome youth who came forward to take the wine cup in his hand. "Xiao Bai, come and drink with this one. Today is truly a good day to celebrate, don't you think?" He had a drunken expression as if he was drunk. "Emperor, you are the ruler of a country, you can't be like this." Chu Xiaobai turned around and ordered, "Go get some hangover soup." He, the ruler of a country. We are the monarch of a country, but do you know how useless we are as an emperor? This country's ruler position. This one doesn't want the throne and this one doesn't want to be the emperor anymore. Xiao Bai, you can be the emperor, all right. Mo Chuan suddenly looked up and smiled at Chu Xiao Bai. He looked very drunk. His alcohol tolerance was very great, and adding in his deep internal energy, even if he drank 2 full jugs of wine, he would not be this drunk. Chapter 689. Emperor. Chu Xiaobai was shocked and quickly looked around. It was a good thing the surrounding eunuchs and maids were standing far away and no one heard Mo Chuan's words, otherwise he really did not know how to stop these people's mouths. His heart kept beating fast. He never thought that the emperor would be this drunk, even saying that he didn't want to be the emperor. It could be seen how depressed his heart was and how hurt it was. Of course he knew why the emperor was like this. Even when he saw Chu Xiaoyang come to the banquet alone without her by his side, he felt a sense of loss and his heart felt empty. He did not have any other hopes right now, he just hoped that his third brother would treat her well and cherish her. Since she chose to stay by his third brother's side, it must be because of his third brother's true feelings for her, right? Since it was like this, what did he have to worry about? His only wish right now was to occasionally see her. He did not want to attend this banquet, but when he thought of seeing her, he couldn't help coming. He came, but he was disappointed. At this time, Chu Xiaoyang slowly stood up from his seat. He cupped his hands at everyone and walked into the back hall. Chu Xiaobai knew that he was going to the toilet and his heart skipped a beat. He was about to follow him, but with just a thought, Mo Chuan's figure was even faster than him. A bright yellow robe flashed in front of him and Mo Chuan had already followed Chu Xiaoyang into the back hall. Chu Xiaoyang, stop. Mo Chuan's figure flashed and he was already in front of Chu Xiaoyang. The two of them stood in the hallway leading to the back hall with no one on either side. There were several beautiful flowers swaying in the wind, releasing a faint fragrance. But neither of them was in the mood to appreciate the flowers. Emperor, this minister has drunk too much and wants to go to the toilet. You are blocking this minister's path. Could it be that you are afraid this minister will go first? You are the ruler and Xiaoyang is the minister, so the emperor should go first. Chu Xiaoyang gave a slight bow to Mo Chuan with a smile. Although his posture was respectful, his expression was one of indifference. What about her? Tell this one the truth. Is she sick or does she not want to come? Or are you not letting her come? Mo Chuan stared into Chu Xiaoyang's eyes and said this word for word. Her. Which her? Who is she? Please forgive this minister for not understanding the emperor's meaning. Chu Xiaoyang. Your subject is here. I want to know about Ning, her. The smile on Chu Xiaoyang's face finally disappeared and his eyes turned cold. He coldly looked at Mo Chuan with a dark gaze. Your Majesty. This official does not want to hear her name from another man's mouth. If anyone dares to call her Ning, He lowered his voice, revealing a hint of threat. This one did, what do you dare do? Mo Chuan said in a cold voice. You are the monarch, this subject does not dare to do anything, but she is this subject's princess, this subject can do whatever he wants. The veins on Mo Chuan's forehead popped out. He grabbed Chu Xiaoyang's wrist and used a lot of strength. She's just a weak woman. If you have the ability, come at me. Don't you dare bully her. What? Does the emperor feel sorry for me bullying her? Chu Xiaoyang raised his brows as if nothing had happened and revealed a smile. Mo Chuan's eyes turned red and he said in a hoarse voice, That's right, this one's heart hurts, but she chose you. Chu Xiaoyang, if you dare bully her, this one will. Chu Xiaoyang did not wait for him to finish before revealing an uncaring smile. Chapter 690. Chu Xiaoyang's wrist made cracking sounds from Mo Chuan's grip, but he just stared right at Mo Chuan. His eyes were cold and his voice was filled with hatred. In this way, Your Majesty can openly snatch away the wife of an official, right? Just like how the emperor stole the throne that should have belonged to me. Very good, this minister is here. If the emperor wants to kill me, then kill me. Kill this minister and she will be yours. Now that I'm dead, you can sit on the throne in peace. He had held back these words for almost 10 years and he could finally say them out loud. His heart was filled with an indescribable joy. Even if he was going to be beheaded for saying these words, he did not care. Perhaps he had drunk too much, so he dared to say the words hidden in his heart under the influence of alcohol. Chu Xiaoyang. The anger in Mo Chuan's chest was ignited and it quickly reached his brain. His entire head was buzzing and the wine he had just drunk allowed him to speak without any fear. If you want the throne, I'll give it to you. If you want to be the emperor, you can be it. I don't want anything else, I just want her. Hearing this, Chu Xiaoyang was stunned. Then he began to laugh in a low voice. Your Majesty, is she actually more important than the throne in your heart? You're willing to exchange the throne for her? This minister is truly flattered, but this minister is the same as the emperor. I don't love the country. I only love her. He laughed until tears came out, wiping them away as he laughed. The throne. It wasn't that he didn't want it, but he knew that with Empress Dowager Zhou here, there would never be a day where Chu Xiaoyang could become the emperor. If you really love her, then you have to treat her well and never bully her. Mo Chuan said in a hoarse voice. Seeing Chu Xiaoyang mention her in that kind of uncaring manner, he felt like his heart was about to crack. The girl he treated like a treasure, the girl he couldn't bear to touch, had actually fallen into Chu Xiaoyang's hands. It seemed like he didn't care about her at all and didn't cherish her at all. Since it was like this, why did he have to take her for himself? This minister will say the same thing. She is this minister's princess and if she is devoted to me and serves me well, I won't even have time to love her. However, if she dares to sleep by my side and thinks of another man in her heart, then that would be hard to say. This minister is a man, this minister can't allow her to be unfaithful to me. Mo Chuan forcefully gritted his teeth and his chest began to rise. He shouted in a low voice, Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang had a smile on his face, but his eyes were filled with a cold aura. He said with a smile, if any man dares to have any ideas about her, call her name once and this minister will cut off a finger. If you call her twice, this minister will cut off 2 fingers. If that man doesn't know what's good for him and keeps calling me that, this official doesn't mind chopping off her 10 slender jade fingers. Even if she has no hands, she still has a beautiful face, and this official will continue to dote on her. If she dares to have a change of heart, this official will dig out her heart and feed it to the dogs. Shakes Mo's chest. Mo Chuan's heart. Chuan, King Mo Chuan's eyes filled. Mo, a shaken ch's voice, Mo was Chu. Mo Chu, but the smile on his face did not decrease at all. A pair of eyes filled with hate stared right at Mo Chuan. This one will kill you right now. Mo Chuan's eyes turned blood red. His reason had already been burned to ashes by the wine and his anger. He was so angry that he just wanted to kill someone. Chapter 691. Emperor, don't. Chu Xiaobai jumped out from the shadows and grabbed Mo Chuan's hand. He followed behind the two of them and clearly heard their words. His heart was filled with conflict. One was his third brother and the other was his uncle, both of them were his flesh and blood. But they had become enemies. He did not show himself because he didn't know what to do and which side he should stand on. In terms of emotion, he should help his third brother, but when he heard his third brother's cold words, his heart turned to ice. He never thought that his third brother would be this ruthless, even saying such cruel words. Then wouldn't Ning be tortured if she stayed by his third brother's side? He felt his heart go cold and hot, going up and down, suffering. He wanted to leave, but he wanted to hear the result. Until Chu Xiaoyang completely angered Mo Chuan. If he didn't save him, Mo Chuan, who had lost his mind, would strangle Chu Xiaoyang to death. Mo Chuan was filled with rage, but when he saw Chu Xiaobai appear, he was instantly stunned. Emperor, please let go of third brother. Even if third brother says something wrong and offends the emperor, he doesn't deserve to die. Mo Chuan's rationality slowly returned and he found that his hand was on Chu Xiaoyang's neck. Chu Xiaoyang's face was already purple, but he still had a look of contempt as he gave him a cold smile. Chu Xiaoyang, this one promises you. From now on, I will never mention a single word about her and will never provoke her again. This one hopes that you can properly cherish her and treat her well. Mo Chuan said word for word before turning around. His yellow robe fluttered in the wind and his back was long, quickly disappearing around the corner. Third brother, your injury. Is it all right? This little brother has some good medicine here, can you apply some? Although Chu Xiaobai hated Chu Xiaoyang's ruthlessness, he was still his third brother. Seeing the deep purple marks on his neck, he couldn't help feeling worried. Scram! There's no need for you to pretend to be kind. Chu Xiaoyang pushed him away and coldly looked at him. Chu Xiaobai, you're not a good thing either. What good intentions do you have for her? You're the same as the emperor, jackals of the same tribe. He angrily flung his sleeves and strode away without looking back. Chu Xiaobai stood there in a daze. Looking at Chu Xiaoyang's back, he suddenly had a strong premonition. His third brother angrily leaving like this, he would definitely vent his anger on her. What should he do? What should he do? Save her, he had to save her. His heart was beating fast and he did not care about the fact that the palace banquet was not over yet. He activated his qinggong and ran out of the palace. He did not even have time to ride a horse as he jumped onto the roof and ran in the direction of the King Ding Yuan palace. He had to take her away from danger before Chu Xiaoyang returned to the palace. Even if his third brother hated him, he couldn't care less. In the Enqing palace, Chu Xiao Chen's heart. Mo Chuan and Chu Xiaoyang had already returned to their seats, but the two of them did not look at each other, just like two strangers. No one noticed that the two of them had left the table one after the other, and no one knew what had happened on the back porch. Chapter 692. After he drank a few cups of wine, his white jade-like face was covered in a faint glow. With the silk around his neck, he looked like a jade tree. Not only was it not strange, it made him look even more elegant. Mo Chuan thought that after Chu Xiaoyang was injured, he would angrily leave the palace. He never thought that he would be the same as him, returning to his seat and drinking with the ministers. He couldn't help feeling this was strange. Thinking about it, it was better if he didn't return to the palace. If he left in a fit of anger, perhaps he would vent his anger on her. He couldn't help feeling deep regret for his reckless actions. He shouldn't have angered Chu Xiaoyang even though he knew that he was an angry beast. The more he thought about her, the angrier Chu Xiaoyang would become. If he really wanted her good, he would never mention a single word about her in front of Chu Xiaoyang. It was all because of drinking. Mo Chuan was deeply alert. He pushed the wine cup far away and did not drink a single drop. His Highness the East Qin Crown Prince has arrived. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the entrance of the Anqing Palace, shocking all the West Chu ministers in the main hall. Everyone turned their heads and looked at the entrance of the main hall. Hearing the sound of boots, a tall black-clothed man appeared in front of everyone. He had a deep and handsome face and his black cloak fluttered in the night wind. He stood at the entrance of the main hall, like a goshawk spreading its wings, majestic and vigorous. It really is the East Qin Crown Prince. That's right. But why is he here? This is our West Chu country celebration banquet. He was defeated by our Dingyuan princess. If it was me, I wouldn't have the face to appear here. The ministers couldn't help whispering. Na Mu Kyo raised his head and puffed out his chest. His eagle-like eyes scanned the hall as if he was looking for someone. Although the ministers' voices were low, he heard every single word. He turned a deaf ear to them and ignored them. He quickly looked around and then walked forward. He walked in front of Mo Chuan's throne and bowed to pay his respects. Respected Emperor, Na Mu Kyo has come late, I ask for your forgiveness. Mo Chuan slightly raised his hand and said, Your Highness is too polite. For you to personally come to the banquet, it is a blessing. The two of them exchanged a few polite words before Na Mu Kyo sat down in the seat closest to Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan knew that there must be a reason for his sudden appearance, but he remained calm. He did not take the initiative to ask, rather he chatted with him about the East Qin country's customs. As expected, after a few random words, Na Mu Kyo began to lose his cool. Your Majesty, I've heard that this palace banquet is being held for your country's Dingyuan princess, but why haven't I seen her? According to King Dingyuan, the princess is not feeling well, so she can't attend. Mo Chuan calmly replied as he looked at Chu Xiaoyang. When Na Mu Kyo heard this, he looked at him. He clapped his hands and the servant behind him immediately took out a brocade box. He placed it in front of Mo Chuan and then opened it in front of everyone. This prince has 1,000-year-old snow ginseng here. It is very rare and can cure all kinds of illnesses. This prince wants to give it to the princess. I believe that after she eats this snow ginseng, she will be completely cured. What? 1,000-year-old ginseng? Chapter 693. They all stretched their necks to look into the gift box, and saw that on the red satin cloth in the box, there was indeed a ginseng that had already taken the shape of a human. Normal ginseng was turmeric yellow, but this ginseng was completely snow white, and it had the appearance of a child. Snow ginseng took 100 years to form, and now this snow ginseng looked like this. It was indeed a 1,000-year-old object, a rare treasure. The ministers all let out sounds of envy as they all congratulated Chu Xiaoyang. The smile on Chu Xiaoyang's face instantly disappeared. He stared right at Na Mu Kyo and a cold glow flashed in his eyes. King Dingyuan, this is a gift from Crown Prince Na Mu to the princess. This gift is very heavy, why aren't you thanking the Crown Prince yet? Mo Chuan looked at Chu Xiaoyang and slowly spoke. Chu Xiaoyang ground his teeth a few times before standing up. He walked in front of Na Mu Kyo and cupped his hands to him. The Crown Prince's good intentions, please forgive this king for not accepting it. This snow ginseng is a rare treasure and there is no such thing as a reward without work. This king's princess does not have the fortune to accept the Crown Prince's gift, so I asked the Crown Prince to take it back. He actually directly rejected it. When he said this, the ministers were stunned. They were thinking, wasn't King Dingyuan a fool? For him to give you such a precious gift, that means he thinks highly of you and the princess. Moreover, the heavier the gift, the more it represents the crown prince's sincerity, so it would be a waste not to accept it. Na Mu Kyo gave a clear laugh and said, "There is no such thing as a reward without work, your highness' words are correct. However, this prince gave the princess this gift with selfish intentions. This prince is known as the smartest person in the world, but I lost to the princess in a competition today. This is the first time this prince has lost in 10 years, but this prince is not convinced, so I want the princess to compete again tomorrow. I heard that the princess is sick, so I gave this snow ginseng in hopes that the princess will recover soon and be able to compete with this king again." When his voice fell, the sound of a cold breath being sucked in filled the hall. The ministers began to discuss with each other again. What? Compete again? It really is a weasel paying respects to a chicken, he has bad intentions. That's right, that's right. What 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, so it's like this. This crown prince is clearly not willing to admit defeat. Let's compete. Could it be that our Dingyuan princess is afraid of him? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and their minds were filled with excitement. They were worried that the East Qin crown prince would come up with too difficult problems to make things difficult for West Chu, but hearing that they would compete again, they all let out a sigh of relief. They were all thinking that since the princess could win the first time, naturally she could win the second time. In this second match, West Chu would definitely win. King Dingyuan, since the crown prince has good intentions, you should accept this gift for the princess consort. Your Highness, you must agree to the crown prince's invitation. That's right, that's right. Let the princess compete again and let His Highness the crown prince lose convincingly. Everyone saw that Chu Xiaoyang was not saying a word. He did not answer Na Mu Kyo's question or accept the snow ginseng gift box, so they all began to persuade Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was filled with rage. Of course he knew why Na Mu Kyo asked for another match, it was because he was not willing. He did not forget his promise with her and wanted to take her away from him after he won. How could he agree to this? Chapter 694. Mo Chuan did not know about this, but hearing Na Mu Kyo's words, it was perfect. This was killing two birds with one stone. First, if she was really sick, after taking this snow ginseng, she would be cured no matter how serious her illness was. Moreover, this snow ginseng had the effect of strengthening the body, so it was very beneficial to her. Second, Na Mu Kyo's request to compete again was equal to giving a second challenge. If she could win again, then West Chu would win the second round. So he said, Xiaoyang, this snow ginseng is very hard to come by, so just take it. It'll help the princess recover faster. Chu Xiaoyang almost crushed his teeth from gritting them. He suddenly looked up and glared at Mo Chuan. In his mind, this must have been the emperor's idea. He and Na Mu Kyo had colluded to come up with this idea to force him. He definitely could not agree. But in front of everyone's eyes, he couldn't not agree. He hesitated for a bit before reaching out to take the gift box from the servant's hands. With a serious expression, he said, "This king thanks your highness for your gift. I believe that after the princess takes it, she will be able to recover. When her body recovers, naturally she will be able to compete with your highness again." His words were cleverly and ambiguously phrased. It was neither a promise nor a refusal. Although Na Mu Kyo was very smart, he was very straightforward. He did not understand the meaning behind Chu Xiaoyang's words at all. Seeing him take his gift, he thought that he had agreed. He couldn't help smiling as he was in high spirits. Standing up, he placed his right hand on his left chest and bowed to Mo Chuan. "Your Majesty, this prince will leave first." This prince will wait for news in the guest house. I hope that the princess can recover soon and fight with this prince again. Mo Chuan could hear the hidden meaning behind Na Mu Kuo's words, but it was not convenient for him to remind Na Mu Kuo. His long brows slightly knit as he gave a slight nod to Na Mu Kuo. Na Mu Kuo turned to leave with large steps. He did not even look back and did not even look at Chu Xiaoyang. In his eyes, only Mo Chuan was his opponent. He did not place Chu Xiaoyang in his eyes at all. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was filled with anger, but he did not show it on his face. Instead he curled his lips and revealed a faint smile. Emperor, this minister will also leave first. This minister is worried about the princess' illness and wants to give this snow ginseng to her as soon as possible. I asked the emperor for permission. Although Mo Chuan knew that his words were not sincere, he could only nod in agreement. King Ding Yuan, this one hopes to receive the good news of the princess' recovery as soon as possible. The hopes of our West Chu country are all on her. He stared at Chu Xiaoyang with a deep gaze, hoping that he could understand the meaning behind his words. He hoped that he could put the country's affairs first and his personal feelings second. Chu Xiaoyang looked like he did not understand his meaning as he lowered his eyes. This minister will leave. After he finished speaking, he slowly withdrew from the main hall. Then, the corners of his purple robe fluttered as he disappeared into the darkness. Mo Chuan kept staring at his back until he couldn't see a corner of his clothes anymore. His right hand was placed on the armrest of the chair and the sturdy wood suddenly released a "caw" sound, breaking in half. Chen Ning was still in a daze when she suddenly felt the light from the lamp. She opened her eyes and saw a tall figure standing in front of her bed. He was holding a candlestick in his hand and was slightly bent over, staring right at her. Chapter 695. Ning, this king has brought you a good thing. After you eat it, your injuries will be healed. Chu Xiaoyang clapped his hand and a guard on the side brought over a brocade box. He opened it and presented it to her like a treasure. A strong smell of ginseng assaulted his nostrils. Chen Ning did not want to pay attention to him, but when she saw this thing, her eyes couldn't help opening wide and she bit her lips. This is 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. It can be considered a rare treasure, something that money can't buy. Look at this ginseng, it has a head and limbs and has already grown into a human shape. Eating it can cure 100 illnesses, and even if you don't have any illnesses, it will still be very beneficial to your body. Ning, do you like it? She closed her eyes. I don't like it. No matter what he gave her, she didn't like it. He. She heard Chu Xiaoyang laugh. I don't like it either because I hate the person who gave this to you. However, although he is hateful, I'll still accept his gift. Someone, immediately turn this snow ginseng into ginseng soup and give it to the princess consort. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes lit up. Yes. The guard took the snow ginseng and quickly left. Chu Xiaoyang. She suddenly opened her eyes. He sat by her bed and revealed a smile. Call me Xiaoyang, I like it when you call me by my name. Don't use that Chu word. He looked at her with a smile, as if he was in a very good mood. Her crow feather-like hair was scattered across the pillow, making her face look white and tender. Her eyes were dark and moist, making his heart beat faster, but he was still smiling. Ning, your hair is a mess, how come your hairpin is gone? But I'll prepare the best for you. He carefully tidied up her hair, and then used his calloused fingertips to gently touch her face. Her skin was soft and smooth, and it felt good to the touch. What do you want to say to me? Did you miss me after I left? Didn't I come back to accompany you soon? You. She tilted her head and avoided his fingers, but she was trapped on the bed. In this small space, where could she avoid? Chu Xiaoyang smiled again. You don't like me touching you. All right, then I won't touch you. I'll wait for the time when you beg me to touch you. He kept his words and took back his hand, silently looking at her. What do you want to say? He asked. Are you planning on locking me here for the rest of my life? She stared at him. He said with a smile, locking you for the rest of your life? Of course not, I want you to accompany me for the rest of my life. Is this how you tie me to the bed? She moved, and the chains on her body clanked against each other. Can Chu. Chu Xiaoyang rubbed his chin and looked at her as he said, Ning, don't play tricks with me, I know what you want to do. If I let you go, you might use a very violent method to escape me, so I can't take that risk. I'd rather you hate me, I'll lock you up, I can't let you hurt yourself. She couldn't help closing. Yes, he was very smart. She couldn't help. She could. Ning, don't you want to ask me about the situation at the palace banquet tonight? She decided to close her eyes. There is a person that is about to go crazy for you. Ning, do you want to know who he is? His voice sounded in her ears in a bewitching manner. His hot breath blew behind her ears and she couldn't help getting goosebumps. Chapter 696. Open your eyes and take a look. I believe that you will be very happy when you see this. She heard the sound of cloth being torn. She thought that it was her clothes being torn, but she found that the blanket covering her body was still fine. She opened her eyes and saw that under the candlelight, Chu Xiaoyang's face was magnified in front of her. His facial features were as handsome as ever, but her eyes fell onto his neck. His neck was slender, but there were several purple marks that were swollen. It could be imagined how much strength the person had used. If it was a normal person who did not know martial arts, they would have suffocated to death. Look at this, are you happy? This is the mark that man left on my body. He wanted to kill me. Chu Xiaoyang's finger touched the marks on his neck as he casually said. Chen Ning bit her lips and said after a while, why? Of course it's for you. He looked up at her and suddenly smiled. He said that he didn't want anything else, he just wanted you. He said that he would let me be the emperor as long as I let him have you. Ziyi, aren't you very moved after hearing this? Even I was almost moved. Do you want to know how I answered him? Although he did not say a single word about who he was, he and Chen Ning were both well aware of it. As he spoke, he stared fixedly at her expression, a playful smile on his face. She pursed her lips and did not say a word. She just coldly looked at him. I told him that I don't love the world, I love beauties. I like you so much, even if you gave me the emperor, I wouldn't exchange it. After he heard this, his face became extremely ugly. Interesting, really interesting. But he did not give up. He actually called out your name in front of me and asked about you. So I told him that if he called you Ning again, I would. Hey, guess what I would do? The smile on his face froze and he said word for word, would cut off your fingers one by one and give them to him. I also told him that if you dared lie beside me and think of another man, I would dig out your heart and feed it to the wild dogs. Her body trembled violently, and the image of a bloody severed finger flashed through her mind. She knew that every word he said was true, and he wasn't trying to scare her. He really could do it. After that man heard this, he went crazy. He grabbed my neck and used a lot of strength, saying that he would kill me. Then another admirer of yours appeared. Ziyi, Ning, this king really does not know how you managed to provoke them. Why do they all like you one after another? There is also that East Qin Crown Prince Namu, he actually said he wants to compete with you again. When he heard that you were sick, he took out that 1,000-year-old snow ginseng to give to you. This kind of good thing, even 10,000 gold coins couldn't buy it, but he gave it out without even blinking. If you said that he didn't have any strange thoughts towards you, even a fool wouldn't believe it, right? This king is not a fool, this king, and his eyes of heart. Chu Xiaoyang's brows curved and he revealed a low laugh. Although he was smiling, the coldness in his eyes became stronger and stronger. Although she was covered in a blanket, she still felt the chill. Chapter 697. So, what do you plan on doing to me? You're going to lock me up and lock me up like a bird in a cage, giving me food when I'm hungry, giving me water when I'm thirsty, teasing me when I'm happy, and leaving when I'm unhappy, isn't that right? Chu Xiaoyang, I'm a person, I'm not a canary in your cage. If you want to cut off my fingers, then cut them off. I'm not afraid even if you cut them all off. If you want to dig out my heart, then dig it out. I can clearly tell you that this heart will never have you. She said this in a single breath and then felt the air suddenly freeze. The temperature in the room suddenly dropped and a strong chill came from Chu Xiaoyang's body. He stood up abruptly, his tall figure blocking the candlelight at the head of the bed, casting a shadow over her head. He looked down at her, his eyes glinting with a cruel, dark light. He had finally been provoked to the brink of rage by her. He was like a man-eating beast, his ferocious nature exploding. Because she knew what words could hurt him the most. Chen Ning curled her lips into a smile. He thought he was the cat and she was the mouse. He had been playing the cat and mouse game from the beginning, treating her and Imo Chuan as mice in the cat's paws. He could play with them however he wanted, but she wouldn't let him have his way. Chu Xiaoyang, didn't you love Chen Baiyun like this in the past? But what happened to her? She had your child, but you abandoned her like a pair of worn-out shoes. You even destroyed her face. She is living a life worse than death right now, so the woman you love will be very miserable. Chen Baiyun is like this, and I am also like this. She forcefully grabbed the chains and shook them. She said with a cold smile, how can you say you love me? How can you restrict my freedom and tie up my hands and feet? You humiliate me, you threaten me, and then you want me to fall in love with you. Which woman in this world would fall in love with a man like you? If she isn't a fool, then she is a fool. Chu Xiaoyang's face turned livid as he fiercely shouted, don't mention that cheap woman Chen Baiyun. You are different from her, she is a cheap woman and she lied to me. It was her and her wet nurse that made me fall in love with the wrong person. I hate her, if it wasn't for her, how could all these things have happened? That's why I want her to die. But my feelings for you have always been wholeheartedly and have never changed. I fell in love with you 8 years ago and 8 years later, I still love you. He grabbed her shoulders and shook her forcefully, messing up her hair and making the chains clank against each other. Ning, I can be with you with all my heart, but why did you change? You clearly like me, but why did you have a change of heart so easily? Why? Tell me why. Chen Ning closed her eyes and then opened them again. Although her hair was messy and her face was pale, her eyes were still very beautiful. Chu Xiaoyang, think about it clearly. The Chen Ning you like, is it the one who saved you 8 years ago or the current me? Haven't you noticed that we aren't the same person at all? Chu Xiaoyang was stunned. He looked at her in a daze and knit his brows, not understanding her words at all. Chapter 698. Chen Ning shook her head, no, she and I are not the same person. The Chen Ning that truly loved you is already dead. On the day you married Chen Baiyun, she spat out blood and died. So, I am not her, I have never loved you from beginning to end. Chu Xiaoyang gritted his teeth and said, I understand. Ning, do you still hate me? Because I married Chen Baiyun, your love for me died, right? Alright, I'll let you see someone right now. I'll let your heart come back and I'll let you fall in love with me again. She stared at him and found that she could no longer explain herself. Even if she told him that she was a spirit that came from another world, he would not believe her. After all, no one in this era would accept this kind of mysterious matter. Chu Xiaoyang called over the secret guard and gave him a few orders in a low voice. The secret guard accepted his orders and left. Not long after, there was the sound of messy footsteps as several secret guards carried a large wooden stake into the room. There was a person tied to the stake with iron chains. That person had a head full of white hair that covered her face, making it impossible to see her appearance. Ning, take a look at who this person is. Chu Xiaoyang clapped his hands. The secret guard moved aside the person's messy hair, revealing a face filled with panic. Her eyes were filled with fear and there was a rag in her mouth. She kept making sob sounds as if she was begging for mercy. Miss Chen. Chen Ning knit her brows as she recognized her with a single glance. That's right, it's her. The main culprit of all this was this slut. She had already escaped the king's palace and this king had sent everyone out to capture this cheap woman. Now this king will let her tell you how they framed you and how they lied to this king. Chu Xiaoyang turned around and coldly stared at Miss Chen. He ordered, let her speak. The secret guard took out the rag in Miss Chen's mouth. Spare me. Your Highness, I beg your Highness to spare me. As soon as Miss Chen could speak, she immediately begged for mercy. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold laugh. Miss Chen, now that you've fallen into this king's hands, it's impossible for you to live. Just obediently tell me the truth and this king will grant you a quick death. Miss Chen's face turned pale and she licked her lips a few times. This servant doesn't know anything. I was just listening to the second miss orders. If your Highness wants to ask anything, you can ask the second miss. This cheap woman is not telling the truth. Someone come, cut off one of her fingers for this king. Chu Xiaoyang sat in front of the bed and gently lowered his head to help Chen Ning put her thick black hair behind her ears. He spoke without even raising an eyebrow. Ah! Miss Chen let out a pitiful cry like a pig being slaughtered. One's finger was cut off, one's finger was cut off, one's finger. Miss Chen was Chen. Miss Chen said. While Chu Xiaoyang was speaking, he kept looking at Chen Ning. Her face was very pleasing to the eye and one would never get tired of looking at her. He did not want to look at Miss Chen's old and ugly face. When Chu Xiaoyang said this, he kept looking at Chen Ning. Her face was very pleasing to the eye and he would never get tired of looking at it. He did not want to see Miss Chen's old and ugly face. This servant did not. Miss Chen almost fainted from the pain. Ah! The secret guard mercilessly cut off Miss Chen's second finger. Miss Chen's eyes turned white and she fainted. The secret guard mercilessly cut off Miss Chen's second finger. Miss Chen's eyes rolled back and she fainted. Reporting to your Highness, the criminal has fainted. Chapter 699. When the salt water was poured onto the bloody wound, it was filled with a piercing pain. Although Chen Ning hated Miss Chen and her main body had been bullied by Miss Chen and Chen Bai Yun in the Hugua manner, seeing Chu Xiaoyang's calm expression when he tortured people, her heart was filled with a chill. He had always been a cold-blooded person. Towards the people he hated, he would not even bat an eyelid even if he were to cut them up with a knife. His love and hate were equally strong. Chen Ning knew that he was killing the chicken to warn the monkeys. He was clearly torturing Miss Chen, but he wanted her to lower her head to him. I'll say everything. Miss Chen was awakened by the pain. She looked at Chu Xiaoyang like she was looking at a demon from hell, her eyes filled with fear. Say it. Chu Xiaoyang still did not look at her. Yes. The second miss loves your Highness, but your highness is engaged to the young miss." The second miss was very dissatisfied, so she called this servant over. This servant gave the second miss an idea and sent someone to your highness, saying that the one who saved your highness 8 years ago was not the young miss, but rather the second miss. Then your highness fell for it and drank yourself into a stupor. This servant did not understand what she meant, but the two of you drank the wine and went to bed in a daze. But I don't know what happened, but this servant suddenly heard the window open like it was blown open by the wind. This servant quickly went to close the window and found that there was only the second miss on the bed, but your highness was nowhere to be seen. Then the second miss found out that she was pregnant. When Chu Xiaoyang heard this, he suddenly turned around. His eyes turned sharp as he angrily said, "Cheap woman, tell this king clearly." This king did not touch that cheap Chen Baiyun at all that night, so whose bastard child was in her stomach? Your highness, this servant. This servant really doesn't know. Miss Chen began to cry. Cut off another one. Miss Chen suddenly trembled and shouted out, "I'll say it, I'll say it, I'll say it all. Speak." Then, that night, when this servant went to close the window, I found that your highness had disappeared and the second miss was still lying on the bed. She had drunk the medicinal wine and the medicine had taken effect, making her look very painful. The second miss had told this servant that the medicine could only be cured if a man and a woman were together, but your highness and the second miss were not together. The second miss, her appearance made this servant very worried. If there was no antidote, this matter would be made known to everyone and the second miss' reputation would be ruined. This servant had no other choice but to find a guard to give the second miss the antidote. After that, this servant secretly dealt with the guard. Other than this servant, no one else knew about this matter. When the second miss woke up the next day, she naturally thought that the person she was with that night was your highness. When she became pregnant, she also thought that it was your highness' child. Miss Chen's voice became lower as she spoke. She naturally knew how big her crime was, and if this matter was known by others, the first person that wouldn't forgive her would be Chen Baiyun. So when she heard the news from the palace, she immediately ran away from the palace and hid. But Chu Xiaoyang's secret guards were very resourceful. After searching from house to house, they still found her. So the truth was actually like this. Chapter 700. Then what happened after that? How did you collude with Ning-er? He said in a sharp voice. Miss Chen trembled when she heard his voice. She lowered her head, not daring to look at him. After that, on the day of your highness and the young miss wedding, the second miss found out that she was pregnant and gritted her teeth in anger. It was unknown where she found a bag of poison and sent people to sneak into the palace on the night of your wedding. They put the poison in the young miss' food and the young miss spat out blood, falling unconscious. So the second miss volunteered to help the young miss. Your highness, did you really think that it was the second miss who saved you in the past, so you agreed without any hesitation? The second miss said that the young miss wouldn't live for more than 3 days after taking the poison. When the young miss died, your highness would put her on the princess throne, but for some reason, on the wedding day of your highness and the second miss, the young miss suddenly appeared and did not show any signs of being poisoned at all. She humiliated the second miss in front of everyone and the second miss hated the young miss to the bone. She thought that the child in her stomach belonged to your highness, so she used your highness' love to harm the young miss several times, but she never succeeded. Afterwards, Lan Xiang died and the second madam sent me to the palace, telling me to help the second miss fulfill her wish. Although this servant was unwilling, I did not dare disobey the second madam and the second miss orders. Your highness, princess consort, this servant's words are all true, there is not a single lie. I ask your highness to grant this servant a quick death. After Miss Chen finished speaking, her eyes rolled back as she took in a cold breath. She was on the verge of death. She knew that it would be hard for her to escape death. She did not expect to live, she just hoped that she could suffer less torture before she died. Did you write it all down? Chu Xiaoyang asked. I've written it down, not a single word was missed. A secret guard replied. Take it and have that cheap woman sign it. The secret guard untied Miss Chen's right hand. Miss Chen endured the pain as she signed the confession and then fainted from the pain. Chu Xiaoyang took the confession and looked over it. He saw that it was exactly the same as what Miss Chen had said, and adding in Miss Chen's signature, his grievances were finally cleared. Take her away and lock her up. Remember, you cannot let her die no matter what. Chu Xiaoyang ordered. Yes. Several people took Miss Chen away with the wooden stake. There was only a pool of blood and 2 bloody fingers left on the ground. Chu Xiaoyang took the confession and placed it in front of Chen Ning. He could not suppress the excitement on his face. Ning, can you forgive me now? I have always been framed by those 2 cheap women, I have never touched that cheap woman Chen Baiyun. The child in her stomach is a bastard, it isn't mine at all. I have always been devoted to you. With this confession, this king can tell the world that this king will divorce that cheap woman Chen Baiyun. She colluded with Miss Chen and her mother to harm you, so this king will take revenge for you. This king will make them all die a horrible death, I will make them kneel in front of you and beg you one by one. Ning, do you like it? You. Chen Ning looked at his excited face. Seeing his handsome face, she couldn't help but shiver. Chapter 701. The smile on Chu Xiaoyang's face slowly faded before disappearing. He looked at her and it was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over his excited and happy mood. He had finally found Miss Chen and explained everything in front of her. He was innocent, so shouldn't she be excitedly jumping into his embrace? Why did she still have that indifferent expression on her face? He was filled with hope, but seeing her expression, his heart felt like it was being grabbed by an invisible hand and tightly squeezed. Ning, say something, say something. He grabbed her shoulder and deeply looked into her eyes. His heart was in chaos. What do you want me to say? She curled her lips and found that she had no words to say. Her and his thoughts were like 2 parallel lines that would never meet. What he gave her, she did not want. What she wanted, he did not give it to her. No matter how many things he did for her, she could not be moved. It was because of this. Could it be you really don't like me anymore? Everything I've done for you, was it all for nothing? The person in your heart is him, right? Chu Xiaoyang slowly let go of her hand. He lifted her chin and her long hair fell over her shoulders. Her face was like a painting, shining like the moon and stars, but her eyes no longer had him. The previous Chen Ning liked you, but she's dead. As for me, I have never liked you. Chu Xiaoyang, I have already clearly told you the answer. As for what you want to do, it's up to you. You can imprison me for a lifetime or dig out my heart and feed it to the wild dogs, it's up to you. She tiredly closed her eyes. Chu Xiaoyang's heart slowly turned cold. He tightened his chin and his eyes turned sharp as his breathing became heavy. Very good, this king's feelings for you have all been fed to the dogs. Chen Ning, don't think that this king can't bear to touch you just because I like you. Do you think you can escape? This king will let you see another person. He clapped his hands and the stone door opened again. A person was pushed in staggering. As soon as he entered, he kneeled down on the ground and began to kowtow to Chu Xiaoyang. Your Highness has mercy, Your Highness has mercy. Chen Ning suddenly looked up and saw that the person kneeling on the ground was Dr. Yi. Her heart instantly sunk. Chu Xiaoyang slowly took out a golden hairpin from his sleeve. It was the one Chen Ning had given Dr. Yi before. He revealed a smile to Chen Ning and said in a gentle voice, Ning, you don't like this hairpin, right? If you don't like it, this king will have someone make a better one for you, but why did you give this hairpin to this old man? Did you think that he would tell you after he received this hairpin? She gave a cold shiver and coldly said, if you want, you, Ning, of this, of you, Chen of your heart, Chen, Ning's heart, Chen, Ning's heart, of, Ning, Chen, Chen Chen, Shao Chen, 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 Chen Chen, Chen of Chen. Chen, Chen Chen, Chen Ning's. Of Chen of his Ning. She, Chen, Chen of Chen. She, of Chen of. She of. Of she of sweat, she. Chapter 702. Your Highness, spare me. Dr. Yi gave a sob and almost fainted from fright. A few hidden guards stepped forward and dragged Dr. Yi out. Chu Xiaoyang. What do you want to do to not kill him? Chen Ning couldn't hold it in any longer. No matter what, Dr. Yi was implicated by her, so she couldn't let an innocent person die because of her. Under her excitement, the chains made a clanging sound. Not kill him. Could it be that you want him to report to Chu Xiaobai and have him save you? He looked at her and revealed a faint cold smile. You. She forcefully bit her lips, give me a condition. As long as he doesn't die. Condition. What qualifications do you have to talk about conditions with this king? Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold smile as he shook his head. Ning, he is just a stranger you met, you don't need to worry about his life or death. This king really doesn't know what you're thinking in that little head of yours, do you know? He was the one who took the initiative to tell this king and gave this golden hairpin to this king. He betrayed you long ago, he wanted to gain this king's favor. He sold you out, but you begged this king for him and talked about conditions with this king. Chen Ning stared at him, knowing that he was not lying to her. When she saw Dr. Ye's expression, she had already guessed it. Because Dr. Yi did not dare look up at her, he had a guilty conscience. But even if he sold her out, she couldn't bear to see him being dismembered by Chu Xiaoyang. However, she bit her lips and did not say anything. She knew that the more she begged for Dr. Yi, the harder Chu Xiaoyang's heart would be. Alright, this king can spare his dog life, but you have to agree to a condition of mine. He suddenly changed his words. What condition? She looked down, waiting for him to open his lion's mouth. This king is injured and I want you to personally apply medicine for me. This condition, do you agree to it or not? Chen Ning raised her brows. It was this simple. Chu Xiaoyang unlocked the chains on her hands and placed a bottle of ointment in her hands. Then he raised his head and silently waited. She picked up the ointment and began to apply it for him. Her hands were very gentle and the cool ointment was applied to his wounds. It brought a pleasant coolness that made him not feel any pain at all. He lowered his eyes to look at her. Her expression was very focused and serious. Her fingers were soft, giving him an indescribable sense of comfort. He really wished that his injuries were a bit more serious so that she could apply medicine for him for a bit longer. Lock that rotten old man up, he said, clearing his throat. Yes, Your Highness. Dr. Yi managed to keep his life. He didn't even dare to let out a fart as he was dragged away by the shadow guards. Your Highness, the ginseng soup is ready. Bring it over. Chu Xiaoyang said. He took the ginseng soup and scooped it up with a spoon. He blew on it before bringing it to her lips. She reached the bowl and said, I can of it. You helped this king apply the medicine just now, and now this king is returning the favor by personally feeding you soup. What, are you not going to give this king this chance? His tone became slightly heavy. She looked up at him and drank the soup without saying a word. She did not want to make things difficult for her body. This snow ginseng soup was a very rare tonic and she needed to recover her strength. Only by recovering her body and mind could she think of a better way to escape. Chapter 703. He didn't know that the secret guards on the side were all stunned. They had followed His Highness for many years and knew that His Highness was cold. This was the first time they had seen His Highness patiently feed a girl soup. This kind of wishy-washy matter didn't seem like something that a decisive Wangya would do. All of you leave. Without this king's orders, no one is allowed to come close. Chu Xiaoyang waved his hand and all the secret guards left the room. The heavy stone door slowly closed. Chen Ning's heart sank and she coldly said, "Why aren't you leaving yet? Why does this king need to leave?" He smiled. As he smiled, he began to take off his clothes. He took off the jade belt and casually threw it on the ground. Then he took off his deep purple robe and walked in front of the bed, leaning over to look at her. She closed her eyes tightly, not wanting to look at him. Suddenly, she felt a hot body beside her. He actually got on the bed and laid down beside her. He pulled the quilt over her and draped it over his body, sharing the same pillow with her. After waiting for this long, this king has finally waited for this moment to share the same bed with you. He whispered in her ear and his hot breath blew onto her face. Her body became very stiff and she did not move at all. But he did not touch her. Rather he raised his arm to look at her and said with a smile, "Ning, you don't need to be afraid. I promised you that unless you beg me, I will not touch you." She still did not say a word and her long eyelashes slightly trembled. "All right, it's too late. Let's go to sleep." Chu Xiaoyang flicked his finger and a gust of wind flew out. The candle in front of the bed was extinguished and the room was instantly filled with darkness. Her heart jumped into her throat again and she was so nervous that her breathing stopped. Chu Xiaoyang really kept his word. Although they were lying on the same bed, this bed was very big. He was lying on the outside, not even touching the corner of her clothes. After a while, she heard his shallow breathing become very even. He did not move as he laid beside her, as if he had fallen asleep. Chen Ning did not know if he was really sleeping or pretending to be asleep. He did not take advantage of her, which was out of her expectations, but she understood Chu Xiaoyang. He was a wild beast that could explode at any time, he would not let her go so easily. The darkness was very quiet, so quiet that she could hear her own heartbeat. She suddenly found that her hands were free. She did not know if he had forgotten or neglected it, but he did not chain her hands. But so what if it was like this? Her feet were still chained to the bed, so it was impossible for her to escape. She lay quietly in the darkness for a while. Suddenly, she felt a strange feeling in her body. It was as if there was a fire slowly burning in her body. It was hot. She began to sweat and her throat was dry, but the fire inside her was burning stronger and stronger. She couldn't help but lift the quilt covering her body, gasping for breath. However, the heat was coming from inside her body, burning her, making her restless. What was going on? Oh, right, it was ginseng soup. Could this be the effect of the snow ginseng soup? She began to feel her blood flowing through her body and the heat quickly spread throughout her body. She felt like she was an ant on a hot pan, suffering from the heat. "Water, I want to drink water." Chapter 704. She didn't know if Chu Xiaoyang was asleep or if he didn't hear her, but he laid there without moving at all. "Chu Xiaoyang, help me get a cup of water." She gritted her teeth and pushed his shoulder. Her hand was quickly grabbed by a large hand. What did you say?" Chu Xiaoyang's lazy voice sounded in the darkness, just like a cat that had just woken up. "Water, I want to drink water." Her voice was so hoarse that she couldn't speak. Her body felt like it was about to explode. Beg me. As long as you beg me, I'll give you water. He slowly said as he sat up. He lit the candle on the bed and his eyes glowed as he looked at her without blinking. Her face was very red, just like a peach blossom blooming in March. Her breathing was very fast, but her breath was like orchids. Beads of sweat appeared on her forehead, just like crystal dewdrops. His appreciative eyes lingered on her body. No matter what time it was, she was always this beautiful, he couldn't get enough of looking at her. Chu Xiaoyang, you. She stared at him and suddenly understood. Ginseng soup. What did you put in the ginseng soup? Ginseng soup. He innocently shrugged his shoulders and slowly said, this king found something from Miss Chen's side, it was the good thing she put in the wine. This king felt that the taste wasn't bad, so he had someone put it in the ginseng soup. I'll give it to you to have a taste, it's not bad, right? Under the candlelight, he revealed an innocent smile. Chen Ning forcefully bit her lips until she tasted blood. Her whole body was trembling violently. That strange and unfamiliar feeling was like a tide, almost drowning her reason, and she almost begged out loud. No. Don't beg him. Don't beg him no matter what. She closed her eyes and used her trembling hands to pull the blanket over her, tightly wrapping herself up. This was because her body was covered in sweat and her clothes were already soaked. She did not want him to see her like this. But it was hot, it became hotter and hotter. Her face became redder and her reason slowly left her mind. She used her hands to grab her collar, wanting to rip off her clothes and let her body feel cool. No, she definitely couldn't. She painfully struggled on the bed as the chains under her feet clanked. She bit her lips, but she did not make a single sound. Why are you being so stubborn? You won't be able to take it sooner or later. Chu Xiaoyang finally gave a sigh. He got off the bed and brought a cup of water to her lips. She immediately drank it all like it was rain, but the thirst in her heart did not disappear at all. She gasped and looked up. She forcefully pushed his hand away from her shoulder. He had a smile on his face as he wiped off the blood from her lips. Chen Ning, he said with a smile, this is Chen want to speak. Chen T I T T he shat T T Chin T T Chin T T T T T T he T he T T T he T T to say that. T he T to teet Ning, as long as you beg me, I will give you the greatest happiness in this world. Do you want it, N? Say it. As long as you beg me, as long as you say a single word, I'll give it to you. He gently said. Speak, as long as you beg me, as long as you say a single word, I will give it to you, he said gently. Chapter 705. You really don't want it. But I feel that your heart and your body really want it. Ning, when did you learn to say one thing but mean another? His lips curled into a ridiculing smile. He reached out a finger and slowly stroked her soft face. Her face was as hot as fire, but her eyes were filled with stubbornness and unyielding. Chu Xiaoyang, why do you have to humiliate me and torture me like this? If you hate me, why don't you kill me? She said in a hoarse voice. That's right, this king does hate you because you are too dishonest. Chu Xiaoyang's smiling face suddenly turned cold. He pinched her chin and used a lot of force. This king has given you many chances, but you have always rejected this king. This king even kneeled in front of you in front of all the ministers. As long as you gave this king a chance, I would have treated you very, very well. I would have crawled under your feet and abandoned my dignity and pride forever. But you didn't. No matter how this king treats you, your heart is made of stone. This king held his heart in front of you, but you fed this heart to a dog. Tell me, should this king hate you or not? The more he spoke, the more excited he became. A wave of hatred covered his entire body. He gritted his teeth and revealed a smile on his face, but that smile was very cold. That high and mighty man likes you and loves you to the point of going crazy. He is willing to give up the throne for you, but you are this king's woman, so why should he want you? Why should he? This king really wanted to let him see with his own eyes how his most beloved woman would lie under this king's body, begging me for mercy. Ning, I really do like you, but you are too cold and heartless. You have stepped on my pride again and again. I, Chu Xiaoyang, am a man, not a piece of mud. So the shame you have given me, I want to take it back bit by bit. I want you to kneel in front of me and beg me. Beg me, beg me. He hissed out and forcefully pinched her chin, making her gasp in pain. His eyes were filled with madness, and his handsome face was twisted with agitation. It was an indescribably terrifying sight. No. Never. Her chin was in pain from being pinched, but the pain allowed her to maintain a trace of clarity. She stared at him with eyes like an angry little beast. She would never let herself abandon her dignity as a human because of drugs, never. But the strange feeling in her body was a torture she had never experienced before. Her hands tightly gripped the blanket and her body trembled. She was struggling with her reason and the desire in her heart. Ning, your current appearance is really cute. I like seeing you struggle in pain. You clearly want to die in your heart, but you don't have the courage to admit it. But I'm not in a rush, as long as you need it, I will wait here and wait for you to beg me. Chu Xiaoyang smiled. The more she struggled in pain, the more excited and satisfied he felt. He stood up and slowly took off his clothes. He had already taken off his outer robe, and now he was wearing a snow-white inner robe. He deliberately took off his shirt slowly, revealing his beautiful and straight upper body. His muscles were tight and strong, and the candlelight shone on his smooth skin, like a soft jade emitting a faint glow. Chapter 706. Chu Xiaoyang knew his own capital. With just his face, he could make all the girls in the capital infatuated with him, but no one knew that he had a body that was even more beautiful than his face. He took a step forward and laid down beside her again, looking at her with a playful smile. Her eyes were closed, but her long and dense eyelashes kept trembling. It was clear that she wanted to look, but was also afraid to look. It was really cute. It made him want to tease her even more. He knew that his actions were very shameless and despicable. He had drugged a girl and then stripped like this to seduce her. But so what? He had never considered himself a good person, he only did what he wanted to do. He did not care about what other people thought or how other people looked at him. He liked to use this kind of shameless method to obtain her. Since he couldn't obtain her love, then he would make her hate him. The more she hated him, the better. It would be best if she hated him to the bottom of her heart, that way she would never forget him. He knew that she was proud, self-respecting, and self-reliant. Even if he had her body, he wouldn't be able to obtain her heart. He had locked her limbs, but he couldn't lock her for a lifetime. The only way he could keep her was to make her lower her proud head in front of him and beg him. Only by shattering all of her self-respect and pride would she know that he was her sky, that he was the master that she needed to submit to, and that she was at his mercy. This was the best way he could think of to conquer her. Chu Xiaoyang was very confident. He was like an experienced hunter, looking at the prey that had fallen into his net. He had spent so much effort to catch this little prey, but he was not in a rush to eat her. He was not willing to eat her in one bite, he wanted to slowly play with her. Ning, open your eyes and look at me. You are the first woman to see this king's body, not even Chen Baiyun has seen it. His low voice sounded in her ears, bringing with it a bewitching charm. She was really bewitched as she opened her eyes. Her hazy eyes fell onto his body. His body was very perfect. Years of martial arts training had made his muscles full and elastic. His skin was fine and firm, without a single scar. It was like a piece of smooth silk. He looked at her with satisfaction as she stared at his body. Although he knew that she couldn't control herself because of the drug, he still felt very satisfied. No matter what, her eyes finally had him. "This body belongs to you, do you want to touch it?" His lips curled into a malicious smile as he continued to tempt her. Her fingers trembled and she almost couldn't help reaching out to touch that satin-like smooth skin. There was a demon in her heart and her reason was slowly being swallowed by that demon. He sat beside her and lowered his head to look at her charming face. Her black hair was like a waterfall and her eyes were like stars. Watching her lose her rationality, his heart was filled with happiness. I. Her throat was dry, and the voice that came out was hoarse. Her mind was in a mess, and there was a fire in her heart that kept screaming, wanting to rush out of her body. She could no longer think, and she almost surrendered to the desire of her body. But her heart still retained the last trace of clarity. No. She spat out a single word with great difficulty, almost breaking her teeth from gritting them. Truly a stubborn little thing, but I like it. Chapter 707. This was because he knew that she wouldn't be able to hold on for long. She was already like dry firewood. As long as he provoked her a bit more, it would ignite into a raging flame. He had taken that medicine before, so he knew how strong the effects were. He grabbed one of her slender hands and pressed it against his chest, letting her soft fingertips touch his skin as he continued to bewitch her last bit of sanity. "Touch it and see how strong this heartbeat is. It's beating for you. Ning, as long as you say a single word, it will completely belong to you. Aren't you very thirsty right now? Aren't you yearning for a pair of strong arms to hug you? Aren't you filled with endless passion that you can't find a place to vent? As long as you say, beg me to take you, I will satisfy your wish and let you enjoy the greatest happiness in this world." His voice was like a mountain spring that slowly flowed. Her fingers trembled in his palm, becoming stronger and stronger. He was so close to her, and his manly scent was as intoxicating as a poppy. The last barrier in her heart suddenly collapsed, and her tensed body slowly relaxed like a blooming epiphyllum. The unique charm between her brows made his breathing stagnate. Her left hand was held by him, while her right hand was still holding onto the blanket covering her body. Her reason was making a final struggle against her body's desire, but in front of her large body's desire, her little bit of reason was so pitiful. With a single breath from him, it disappeared into thin air. "Ning, aren't you very hot? Your entire body is on fire. Don't cover yourself with this thick blanket, it will only make you hotter and hotter." Her fingers had already lost strength, so he easily pulled off the blanket. "Your clothes are all wet. Can I help you take them off? Once you take them off, you'll feel cool and not this hot anymore." She was indeed very hot. The fire that had risen from the bottom of her heart had already melted her. It was as if she was on a volcano, in a pot of oil. She was being tormented, steamed, and roasted. She gasped for breath and sweat poured down like rain. She thought that she was definitely going to die. She was going to be burned to death by this fire. She heard a sound like a stream in her ears. It was fresh and cool, but she couldn't hear what the voice was saying. She just instinctively nodded and leaned towards the cool source. Chu Xiaoyang narrowed his eyes in satisfaction as he watched her take the initiative to lean into his embrace. His 10 slender fingers slowly moved as he slowly undid her clothes. Her breath was like orchids, not resisting at all. He slowly leaned over to her, and the tip of his nose touched the tip of her nose. His long eyelashes almost touched her cheeks. Her originally clear eyes were covered in a layer of mist, and she looked at him in a daze. He didn't take any medicine, but his heart was on fire, causing his body to become hot, his heart to beat faster, and his mouth to dry up. Because he was suffering more than her, suffering more than her. Because he was suffering more than she was, more tormented. Say it, beg me. As long as you beg me, I'll immediately make you feel more comfortable and cooler. He used the tip of his nose to gently rub against her smooth jade-like cheeks, and his hot breath blew onto her face. Chapter 708. Why can't you find her? Shui Feng, where's your dog nose? Why isn't it working this time? Chu Xiaobai brought Shui Feng, and the two of them searched every corner of the King Ding Yuan palace, but they still couldn't find her. Seeing time slowly pass, his heart became more and more anxious. A sense of panic and a bad premonition filled his heart, and he couldn't help complaining to Shui Feng. Your Highness, this subordinate is not a dog. Not being able to find her, Shui Feng was very depressed. Hearing Chu Xiaobai's words, his face instantly turned red. Don't you rely on smelling to find people? If you don't have a dog nose, what is it? You could find her before, so why can't you find her this time? Chu Xiaobai angrily said. Shui Feng had an awkward expression as he scratched his head. His heart was also filled with confusion. Why was it that after smelling for so long, he couldn't find her scent? That's right, you can't find my third sister-in-law. Try smelling where my third brother is. Chu Xiaobai patted his head and said in an enlightened voice. He found that he was a fool. Wherever his third brother was, she would be there. Shui Feng immediately thought of this. He once again smelled around the palace while Chu Xiaoyang followed behind him, sending away some of the palace's secret guards. The two of them unknowingly walked into the peach blossom house. At this time, the peach blossoms had already fallen and there were blue fruits on the peach trees. Chu Xiaobai suddenly thought of that night when he met her here, and his lips couldn't help curling into a smile. Shui Feng circled around the bamboo building several times. He knit his brows, feeling puzzled. Strange, I can clearly feel that King Ding Yuan is in this small building, but there is no one in the room. He forcefully rubbed his nose and began to suspect that it wasn't working. Chu Xiaobai listened carefully and found that there was no movement in the room at all. No matter, let's go in and take a look. He directly pushed open the bamboo door and walked in. This was Chu Xiaoyang's forbidden area. Normal people were not allowed to enter. This was also Chu Xiaobai's first time entering this small building. With the moonlight coming in from the outside, he and Shui Feng began to search separately. Shui Feng floated up to the second floor like a gust of wind, but Chu Xiaobai stayed in the study below and slowly knit his brows. This was a study with bookshelves all around, filled with books. He took out one and found it was a military book. He took out another one and found it was also a military book. He never knew that his third brother liked military books this much. Other than books, there were also weapons. There were several blades and swords hanging on the wall, as well as short daggers. Each one of them was clean. It was clear that they were all Chu Xiaoyang's treasures. Only he could enter this place, so he must have come here every day to rub these weapons to keep them clean. Your Highness, I didn't find anything upstairs. Shui Feng came down from upstairs with a depressed look on his face. He suddenly realized that the tracking technique he was most proud of had failed. This was simply a disgrace to him. Shui Feng, I suddenly thought of a method that can make third brother appear. Chu Xiaobai looked at the bookshelf filled with military books and the weapons on the wall, and an idea flashed in his mind. Shui Feng's teeth funked, set afire. Chu Xiaobai's lips slightly curled into a naughty smile. Chapter 709. In the underground stone room, the air was so hot that it could be ignited with a single touch. Chu Xiaoyang's body was covered in flames as beads of sweat rolled down his smooth back. It was very hard for him to endure it, but he was still holding on, waiting for the moment she would beg him. She was clearly about to lose her mind from the drug, but he did not know why, but she did not say a single beg word to him. He had already lost his patience from waiting. Ning, is it that hard to say the word beg? As long as you say a single word, I'll give it to you, Don't say that you don't want me. Touch your own heart, how fast it's beating. Touch your body, it needs my embrace and caress. As long as you say it, just a single word, I'll immediately satisfy you. His lips brushed against her earlobe, and he blew on her ear. The ticklish feeling made her whole body tremble, and her snow-white skin turned a light pink. Mo Chuan. Hug me. She muttered to herself. In her unconsciousness, she had already treated the person in front of her as Mo Chuan because they had been intimate like this before. His embrace was strong and warm, burning hot, and she just wanted to be tightly hugged by him. It was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head, but it did not extinguish the fire in Chu Xiaoyang's heart. Rather, it was like pouring oil on the fire, making him immediately explode. Open your eyes and see who I am. His eyes were filled with flames and his nose was filled with flames. He viciously grabbed her neck and roared out. I am Chu Xiaoyang. I am your husband. He panted heavily. He had lost all his patience because of her words. He wasn't going to play this game anymore. He admitted defeat. Even if he lost, he still had to obtain her. He fiercely and wildly pressed her under his body, tearing apart the last barrier on her body. This is bad, Your Highness, there's a fire, there's a fire. Suddenly, the panicked cries of the secret guards came from outside the stone door. Scram! Chu Xiaoyang was like an arrow on a bow, suddenly being interrupted by someone. He was so angry that he wanted to kill someone. After a short moment of silence, the secret guard's trembling voice rang out again. Reporting to Your Highness, the Peach Blossom Cove is on fire. The secret guards knew how important the small building in the Peach Blossom Cove was to Chu Xiaoyang, but without His Highness' orders, no one dared to rush in to put out the fire. Although they knew that His Highness was filled with rage, they still dared to report this matter. Otherwise, if the Peach Blossom Cove was burned to the ground, they would not be able to escape the crime. What? The Peach Blossom Cove is on fire. Chu Xiaoyang was startled as he stood up. He grabbed a robe and quickly put it on, walking out the door with large steps. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly turned around and pulled the quilt over her body. He leaned over and kissed her on the cheek. If the Peach Blossom Cove was not the most important place in his heart, even if the entire King Ding Yuan Palace was burned down, he would not let her go at this time. Ning, wait for me. I'll be back soon. The skin that his lips touched was burning hot, causing his passion to boil. He really didn't want to leave her. He too. The moment the stone door closed, he heard her murmur. These 2 words stabbed into his heart like a sharp knife, causing him to go mad with rage. Chapter 710. Your Highness. The secret guard beside him was stunned. He quickly took out some ointment and wanted to apply it, but Chu Xiaoyang waved his hand and he was thrown out, slamming into the stone wall. Even at this time, your heart is still thinking of him. Very good, when this king comes back, I will properly love you for him. This king will torture you until you beg for death. Chu Xiaoyang swore through gritted teeth and left without looking back. He came out of the secret passage and immediately saw the Peach Blossom Cove covered in flames, turning half the sky red. The servants in the palace were all in a panic. They were all gathered outside the Peach Blossom Cove, holding buckets and other things to pour water into the door. But it was like trying to put out a cart of firewood with a cup of water. The peach trees in the yard were all on fire and the fire was very strong. How could several dozen buckets of water be enough to extinguish it? Chu Xiaoyang was most worried about the bamboo building in the peach blossom forest. That building was filled with his treasured items and each one was his heart. Those treasured blades, those military books that he had searched the world for. Everyone rush in to put out the fire for this king. If even one thing is missing from the bamboo building, this king will take your lives. In the midst of the noise, Chu Xiaoyang circulated his internal energy to send his voice far away, entering everyone's ears. Receiving His Highness' order, the servants all charged into the Peach Blossom Cove, desperately putting out the fire. Chu Xiaoyang took the 2 buckets of water from the guards and flew into the garden, heading straight for the bamboo building. When he arrived in front of the bamboo building, he couldn't help being stunned. He saw that the fire had started from the peach blossom forest 3 meters away. Although the entire bamboo building was engulfed in flames, the fire had not reached it yet, not even a single tile had caught fire. Chu Xiaoyang had thought that the fire had started from the bamboo building and then spread outwards, but who would have thought that this was not the case at all? He was stunned for a second before feeling that something was wrong. This fire was too strange. The peach blossom forest outside was currently in spring, with lush greenery and verdant grass, so how could there be a fire for no reason? It was clear that someone was purposely setting the fire. His chest filled with anger and he raised his foot to kick away a servant that had charged forward to put out the fire. That servant gave a pitiful cry as he flew through the air before falling to the ground. His bones were broken from the fall and he couldn't get up for a while. The people that wanted to put out the fire were all filled with fear. They held their buckets and stood there, not knowing if they should put out the fire or run away. Bastard! Are you all dead? This fire was set by someone. What use is there for this prince to raise useless people like you? You can't even keep an eye on a petty thief. You actually let people rush into this prince's mansion and set it on fire. You all. Find him for this king immediately. We must catch the culprit who set the fire and dismember him. Chu Xiaoyang angrily roared out. The guards and servants were immediately thrown into chaos. Some were busy putting out the fire, while others were busy searching the area. Chu Xiaoyang stood in front of the bamboo building with a pale face and a throbbing pain in his head. Under everyone's desperate efforts, the fire finally began to die down. A secret guard came forward to reporting to Your Highness, this fire was set by someone on purpose. This subordinate found this in the Peach Blossom Cove. That person kneeled on the ground and took out a wooden bucket. When Chu Xiaoyang smelled it, his face became even uglier. Chapter 7:11. His mind was already clear. Someone had poured oil under the peach blossom tree and then lit it. With the help of the wind, it instantly began to burn. So although the fire looked very scary, it was quickly extinguished and it would not become a fire. Damn! I've been lured away from the mountain. Seeing the oil barrels, Chu Xiaoyang was suddenly enlightened. Cold sweat poured down his back. He didn't even think about it and rushed towards the secret passage. This secret passage was built in a rockery in the garden. It was extremely well hidden. With a flash, he entered the rockery. Although it was dark, he walked with great familiarity. After making 2 or 3 turns, he reached out his hand and pressed on a protruding stone on the stone wall. He forcefully turned it. With a creaking sound, a pitch-black tunnel appeared on the ground, leading straight into the ground. He bent down and went in. After taking 2 steps, his eyes darkened. There was a person lying in the passage, not moving at all. Although he couldn't see his face, looking at his clothes, he could tell that he was a hidden guard of the palace. He bent down and touched the person's neck, finding that it was still warm. That person was not dead, but his body was stiff and he could not move. His acupuncture point should have been sealed by someone. Chu Xiaoyang's heart suddenly shrank, knowing that an enemy had come. He did not have time to unseal the hidden guard's acupuncture point, so he jumped up and used his qigong to run towards the stone room. His heart was beating fast and there was only one thought in his mind, which was that this person had come for her. No matter what, he could not let anyone steal her from his hands. Along the way, he saw many dark guards lying on the ground, but he didn't stop at all. Instead, he ran faster and faster. Finally he arrived in front of the stone room. Seeing that the heavy stone door was open, his heart jumped into his throat. Now he only hoped that the person had not left yet. No matter who it was, he would make it so that they could not leave. Chu Xiaoyang slowed down his steps. He held his breath and looked inside the stone door. His heart instantly sank to the bottom. The bed was empty and the blankets were messy, but she was gone. She really was gone. The stone room was completely silent, without a single sound. There was no breathing or footsteps, there was only a deathly silence. Chu Xiaoyang did not care about the danger at all as he charged into the stone room. He charged in front of the bed and reached out to touch it. It was warm to the touch and there was still heat left. It was clear that she had not left for long. He did not even think as he charged out of the stone room. He charged out of the secret passage in a single breath, roaring out like an angry lion. Everyone, go find her for this king. You have to find the princess for this king. If you can't find her, then this king will take all of your lives. The secret guards and guards in the mansion were silent. They all moved out and searched the entire mansion, not leaving a single corner unchecked. But they had turned the king's palace upside down. Even when the sky was bright, they still could not find a single piece of Qin Ning's clothes. Naturally, they could not find the thief who set the fire. Chu Xiaoyang could not understand it no matter how hard he thought about it. It had only been half an incense stick of time since he left the stone room and returned. No matter how good the person's qigong was, it was impossible for them to take her away from him in such a short period of time without being discovered. Chu Xiaoyang couldn't understand it no matter how hard he thought about it. From the time he left the stone room to the time he returned, it had only been half an incense stick of time. Even if this person's qigong was good, it was impossible for them to kidnap someone right under his nose without being discovered. He knew that they had not left and were hiding somewhere in the king's palace. Chapter 7:12. Where were they hiding? Chu Xiaoyang's guess was not wrong. Chu Xiaobai and Zhui Feng had not left the palace and were hiding right under his eyes. That place was the most dangerous place, but it was also the safest place. When Chu Xiaoyang appeared, Chu Xiaobai and Zhui Feng who were hiding looked at each other. Especially Zhui Feng, his eyes revealed a look of admiration towards Chu Xiaobai. King Jing'an was truly smart, thinking of this kind of clever plan. Not long after the fire was lit, Chu Xiaoyang who they couldn't find appeared. Chu Xiaobai gave Zhui Feng a look and Zhui Feng understood. He sniffed the air with his nose before running in the direction of the garden. At this time, the entire palace was in chaos and everyone was running to put out the fire. Adding in their high qigong, they were not discovered by anyone as they found the secret passage in the fake mountain. The two of them entered the secret passage and moved forward. Although there were guards left behind by Chu Xiaoyang to watch over Qin Ning, how could they be a match for Chu Xiaobai and Zhui Feng? They all had their acupuncture points sealed and were lying on the ground like dead fish. The two of them arrived in front of the stone door and Chu Xiaobai's heart couldn't help beating fast. He had already guessed that Qin Ning was locked inside. He forcefully pushed it, but it did not budge. Zhui Feng bent down and took out a key from the chest of the hidden guard on the ground. Turning it around, the stone door made a squeaking sound as it slowly opened. Chu Xiaobai saw the pool of blood on the ground and the two severed fingers. His heart suddenly shrank. Ning er. He loudly shouted as he charged into the stone room. He quickly saw Chen Ning on the bed. Her face was like a peach blossom in March, it was so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. Her lips were cracked and her eyes were closed with tightly knit brows. Her body under the blanket kept trembling, as if she was in great pain. Chu Xiaobai's heart filled with pain. His third brother really tortured her. His third brother really vented all his anger on her. She clearly heard his voice, but she still did not open her eyes, like she was already unconscious. Chu Xiaobai charged over and lifted the blanket covering her without even thinking. He wanted to see where she was injured because the two severed fingers and the pool of blood on the ground made his heart jump. As soon as the quilt was lifted, a piece of fragrant and jade-like skin entered his eyes, causing him to be instantly dumbfounded. She was only wearing a tight-fitting shirt. Her skin was as delicate as porcelain and had a light pink hue. Under the dim candlelight, tiny beads of sweat rolled down her skin like dewdrops, emitting a glossy luster. Ah! Chu Xiaobai let out a cry of surprise. He felt his mouth turn dry and his breathing become rough. He immediately realized that he shouldn't have looked and immediately covered her body with the brocade quilt again, covering her tightly. But even so, his heart was already about to jump out of his chest, thumping madly without any control. He never would have thought that she would look like this under the brocade quilt, but he immediately thought that it was all thanks to his third brother that she became like this. It had to be his third brother's doing. His heart filled with rage once again. When he saw the severed fingers on the ground, his heart turned cold. In that quick glance, he did not notice if she was injured at all. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.